total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robian Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, a suspected trigger man in the Cherry Tree Lane massacre was cut down during a confrontation with the police this afternoon.
And the government launches $25 million fund for tips about Cherry Tree Lane murderers.
We have now established a fund of 25 million Jamaican dollars, and it is focused primarily on this incident.
High-level probe launched into the leak of police intelligence report into the Cherry Tree Lane massacre.
Plans far advanced to build a new maximum security prison to house criminal masterminds.
Jamaicans for Justice insists Prime Minister Andrew Holness's comments following the massacre have dangerous undertones of state badness.
State badmanism, state badness, and we can't ignore the fact that we live in a country where we do have instances of police excesses in some instances.
In news from the rest of the world, Ernesto becomes a hurricane after pummeling Northeast Caribbean.
Hamas will not join Gaza ceasefire talks, senior official says.
In headline sports, Captain Craig Brathwaite believes the Guyanese players in the West Indies squad gives the team an advantage in the second test against South Africa.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, Nationwide News can report that a suspect in the Cherry Tree Lane massacre was killed during a confrontation with the police. Also in the cover story, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says a $25 million fund has been set up for people to provide information leading to the arrest of those responsible for Sunday's massacre.
We have now established a fund of 25 million Jamaican dollars, and it is focused primarily on this incident.
You'll hear more.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, does the cash incentive increase the likelihood that you would give information to the police? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, as the authorities urge people to come forward with information they have on Sunday's massacre, MOCA's Director of Communication, Major Basil Jarrett, is seeking to assure Jamaicans that their information will be kept confidential.
Crime Stop has been around since 1989. They've never had a source compromise. Not one. I don't know what other indication of trust you can have when our number one decline reporting body can say that in 30-odd years.
We'll hear from Crime Stop's chairman, Sandra Glasgow.
And at 8, it's Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings Weathers.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio JM.com, and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, it's Wednesday, August 14, 2024.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. We begin our major bulletin with a developing story. Nationwide News understands that a suspect in the brutal murder of 8 people in Clarendon on Sunday was killed during a confrontation with a joint police-military team this afternoon. The incident reportedly occurred shortly after 4. The man was shot dead in the Osborne Store district of the parish. His identity has not yet been obtained, but it's understood he's believed to be one of the suspected triggermen in Sunday's mass murder. He reportedly challenged the police during an operation and was shot. The suspect was carried to hospital, where he was pronounced dead.
The government has established a $25 million fund for information related to Sunday's mass killing in Cherry Tree Lane, Four Paths, Clarendon. Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced the measures at a press conference at his St. Andrew office today. Mahiri Stewart has that story.
Prime Minister Holness says rewards ranging from $1 to $1.5 million per person will be available to those that provide information that leads to the apprehension of the suspects and facilitators of Sunday's gruesome attack.
We will provide 6 million Jamaican dollars for information leading to the arrest and charge of any suspect involved in the killing, particularly those who were involved in pulling the trigger, and that is up to a maximum amount of $1 million per person. Secondly, we will provide $5 million for information aiding in the investigation, arrest, and charge of facilitators of this criminal act, up to a maximum of $1.5 million per person. We're particularly interested those who provided the weapons, access to the motor vehicle, organized, made the telephone calls, made the connections. We're particularly interested in those persons.
The Prime Minister says cash rewards will be given to persons who provide information related to the firearms used in the attack, as well as evidence tying the attackers to the crime.
We will give a reward for the provision of information and intelligence leading to the recovery of the firearms that were involved in this killing. We're particularly interested in that and any information on the networks involved in the supply of those firearms. And we will provide $5 million for the supply of information and intelligence resulting in the securing of evidence, any form of evidence, against the gangs that were involved in this operation.
Prime Minister Holness also announced a cash incentive for persons who provide information on those who are harboring the attackers. He assured the public that the rewards will be paid in a safe manner once the National Security Ministry is in receipt of the information.
Lastly, we will provide a fund of $5 million leading to the arrest and charge for anyone harboring the criminal gangs or their associates, a maximum of $800,000 per person identified. So this is a $25 million fund that is aimed at increasing the pace at which information is flowing in for the investigation. This fund will be under the administration of the Ministry of National Security, and the traditional methods of providing information can be used. But any method that you use to get the information in, once it is forwarded to the Ministry of National Security and the relevant details are available, the payments will be made securely.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
The Police High Command has launched a probe into a data leak which resulted in intelligence concerning the probe into the Cherry Tree Lane massacre being placed in the public domain. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
Sunday's attack left 8 people dead, including an 8-year-old boy, Aidan Bartley. Aidan's 1-year-old brother was among 9 others shot and injured. Police have launched a high-level investigation into the massacre as the country demands accountability for this brutal incident. It's understood the police compiled a detailed report about the incident for the sole attention of those officers working on the case. The report included specific details about connected parties, potential suspects, and theories that were never meant for public dissemination. But this report found its way into the public domain. It was disseminated through messaging applications such as WhatsApp and other social media sites, including YouTube by vloggers. Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of crime, Fitz Bailey, says the High Command has launched a high-level probe into the breach. The Deputy Commissioner would not say on the record to what level the leak may have compromised the ongoing investigations. However, he made it clear the incident and potential risk to the integrity of the JCF are being taken very seriously. It's feared by many in and outside of law enforcement that the leak of information could put potential confidential sources at risk and even force those on the police's radar who are linked to the massacre into hiding. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced a $25 million fund to reward persons who give credible information that leads to the arrest and charge of the Cherry Tree Lane murderers. A state of public emergency has also been declared in southern Clarendon. And while arrests have been made since the declaration, it's uncertain if they are linked to Sunday's massacre. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
The Holness administration is far advanced in plans to build a new maximum security prison to house what's being described as criminal masterminds in society. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the disclosure at a media briefing at his St. Andrew offices on Wednesday. It's not the first time that the matter of a maximum security facility has been on the national agenda, and as we hear in this report from Shalois Michael, the cost is one of the main issues affecting the government's plans for the prison.
In 2015, former British Prime Minister David Cameron was roundly ridiculed when he proposed that his government would be prepared to give to Jamaica a new prison. At the time, it was felt the UK's offer was more focused on ensuring that potentially dangerous criminals in that country who were of Jamaican citizenship could be deported without issue. But 9 years on from Cameron's offer, the Jamaican Prime Minister has conceded that there's a need for a new prison on the island.
Clearly, there needs to be more modern prison facilities where we can effectively cut off the communication and the contact of prisoners. So the contemplation that we have and that we have started to develop plans, I believe, is really focused on how we can build a high security facility where these kinds of criminal masterminds can be effectively separated from the society.
The matter of a new prison has taken on renewed urgency following police reports that one of the suspected masterminds of Sunday's mass shooting in Cherry Tree Lane, Clarendon, was ordered by an individual now behind bars. The security forces have conceded that persons now incarcerated are ordering hits from their cells due to the porous nature of the nation's prisons. But Holness says the consideration of a new prison has to be balanced against other national priorities.
The issue, of course, is the budgetary constraints. There are many demands on the budget. Building a new prison would certainly draw quite a bit of political attention as to whether or not that is wise use of funds when we need new hospitals, new schools, roads, and all the other issues. So we have to be very careful as a government how we make these kinds of fiscal allocations.
The Department of Correctional Services says it runs 7 adult prisons. At least 2 of those facilities, at Tower Street and Spanish Town, date back to the 19th century. The last prison facility, officially opened in Jamaica, occurred in the 1970s with the Guncourt Prison or the South Camp Rehabilitation Center. Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Human rights lobby group Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, has insisted that Prime Minister Andrew Holness's comments following the Cherry Tree Lane massacre have dangerous undertones of state badness. Gianni Willie reports.
Gunmen killed 8 people in Cherry Tree Lane and injured 9 others. At Monday's emergency press briefing, Prime Minister Andrew Holness declared that the Cherry Tree murderers would be brought to justice by any means.
Today, I make a similar commitment, and everyone who is involved in this will be brought to justice, in whichever form the justice is visited upon them.
Mr. Holness added that persons involved in Sunday's massacre would either meet with a judge or their maker. While condemning the brutality of the massacre, Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, Michael Jackson, expressed concerns at the Prime Minister's rhetoric.
Now, notwithstanding the brutality of what has happened, it's important that the Prime Minister recognizes that we look to our leaders for leadership. And with that in mind, I believe that the Prime Minister's comments have some dangerous undertones, and one must be circumspect when one speaks, because the Prime Minister's comments in 2 instances, what it can suggest and what it can possibly incite is the possibility of reprisals. And we know that's a real possibility, which is why the police had asked for a curfew to have been installed in the first instance.
The youth arm of the governing Jamaica Labour Party, Young Jamaica, has condemned what it describes as JFJ's alarmist rhetoric in response to the Prime Minister's comments. Young Jamaica has described JFJ's position as counterproductive, deeply misguided and irresponsible. But Ms. Jackson is warning what she describes as the perception of state badness.
The other comment made by the Prime Minister could also suggest what I called state badmanism, state badness, so to speak. And we can't ignore the fact that we live in a country where we do have instances of police excesses, in some instances, questionable fatal shootings by the police.
Gianni Willie for Nationwide News.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
15 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
33 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 30 out west in Montego Bay.
Rhino Jamaica Limited invites all industry professionals to its pumps and septic tank seminar. Calling all plumbers, electricians, contractors and hardwares to join us on August 20th in Montego Bay and in Kingston on August 22nd. Registration is free, so you don't want to miss. WhatsApp us at 876-551-6565 or see the press and social media for details.
Continuing the news, Associate Professor of Political Science at Elon University, Dr. Damian Blake, says Jamaica needs a comprehensive cultural reorientation to combat the country's crime rate. His suggestion follows last Sunday's mass gun attack in Cherry Tree Lane, Four Paths in Clarendon, where 8 people were killed. 9 other people were shot and injured. Dr. Blake says Jamaica has had a long-standing cultural love affair with gangsters.
These young men, our gangs, these dons, they are evolving within the cultural space of Jamaica land we love, right? And we have had a love affair, whether we want to admit it or not. There has been a love affair among these young men and within these spaces with badness. It's badness honor. So the inform of the dead. Somebody after dead back, reprisal killing. That is driving a lot of the violence in our community. So we need to have a kind of cultural reorientation. It's a longer term thing, but it's something that all Jamaicans can get on board with. Many of us as Jamaicans, we know people who are involved in badness, and sometimes we don't talk about that. We don't kind of disown it, disbar it, walk away from it. We keep these people close sometimes in case that we may think we need them to carry out something on our behalf.
The police theorize that the Cherry Tree Lane killings stem from a previous shooting incident in September 2021. It was also revealed that persons outside Jamaica and those currently behind bars were involved in Sunday's massacre. Speaking on Nationwide on Tuesday, Dr. Blake notes that local criminal networks have expanded their reach across borders, further undermining national security.
Just look at what's happening with the whole transnational thing, right? You have guys who are overseas. The overseas plan is a very dangerous kind of down, This is someone who is not in the country and who is sponsoring the proceeds of violence. He's calling shots. He's getting young men to pull together to carry out a reprisal killing. How does that work? It works with these kinds of material things, certainly, but there's a cultural orientation that we need to talk some more about these things, right? Somebody has to dead back, as I said before, the income of the dead kind of a culture. It's very pervasive across the Jamaican landscape. When we are partying, look at the ways in which we party, the ways that we speak. Again, these are longer term things. But if we keep on chipping at them culturally, I think that we can save Jamaica still.
Dr. Damian Blake, Associate Professor of Political Science at Elon University.
Meanwhile, criminologist Dr. Jason Mackay believes that an immediate and drastic approach is necessary to protect lives, dismantle criminal networks, and uphold the rule of law.
Although the most responsible thing is a long-term plan that deals with the culture and the social aspects of crime and the economics of crime, the immediate action is not going to come from a social solution. It's going to come from a police solution and a parliamentary solution, a law that allows for remand without evidence, just like the Suppression of Crime Act did. If you pass that law, which you can't unless you adjust the Constitution, then you could actually have a drastic situation where what has occurred in Clarendon could not occur. But that now requires a constitutional change, and after that requires an actual law to be introduced that allows for remand without presenting you to a court, that type of drastic thing.
Dr. Jason Mackay, criminologist.
The People's National Party PNP is expressing condolences at the passing of Comrade Andrea Moore Phillips. Moore Phillips was an attorney at law and a former PNP caretaker candidate for East Portland. She passed away Tuesday night after a battle with cancer. In a statement on Wednesday, PNP President Mark Golding paid tribute to Moore Phillips, noting that she remained positive throughout her illness. He describes her as an exemplary Jamaican who took on her political career with passion. Golding says Moore Phillips will be remembered for her loyalty, charismatic leadership, unyielding commitment, and warm personality. He adds that Mrs. Moore Phillips made a valuable contribution to the party's development and says her passing will leave a void that is hard to fill.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
In regional news, Tropical Storm Ernesto has strengthened into a hurricane as it dropped torrential rain on Puerto Rico on Wednesday. The hurricane left half of all customers in the U.S. territory without power, threatening to become a major storm en route to Bermuda. The storm was located about 180 miles east of Grand Turk Island and was moving over open waters. A hurricane watch was issued for Bermuda, while tropical storm warnings were discontinued for Puerto Rico and its outlying islands in the British Virgin Islands. An island-wide blackout was reported in St. Croix, and at least 6 cell phone towers were knocked offline across the U.S. territory. Schools and government agencies remain closed in the U.S. and British Virgin Islands and in Puerto Rico. More than 140 flights were also cancelled to and from the island. Heavy flooding has also caused officials to block roads, some of which are strewn with trees.
A top Hamas official has disclosed that the Palestinian militant group is losing faith in the United States' ability to mediate a ceasefire in Gaza. This comes ahead of a new round of talks scheduled for this week amid mounting pressure to bring an end to the 10-month-old war in Israel. According to the Associated Press, Osama Hamdan said Hamas will only participate if the talks focus on implementing a proposal detailed by U.S. President Joe Biden in May and endorsed internationally. The U.S. referred to it as an Israeli proposal, and Hamas agreed to it in principle, but Israel said Biden's speech was not entirely consistent with the proposal itself. Both sides later proposed changes, leading each to accuse the other of obstructing a deal. Hamas is especially resistant to Israel's demand that it maintain a lasting military presence in 2 strategic areas of Gaza after any ceasefire conditions only made public in recent weeks.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, suspected triggerman in the Cherry Tree Lane murders was cut down during a confrontation with the police this afternoon.
And the government launches $25 million fund for tips about Cherry Tree Lane murderers.
We have now established a fund of 25 million Jamaican dollars, and it is focused primarily on this incident.
High-level investigation launched into the leak of police intelligence report into the Cherry Tree Lane murders.
JFJ insists Prime Minister Andrew Holness's comments following the Cherry Tree Lane killings have dangerous undertones for state badness.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
It's an exciting time for real estate developers and investors as the Greater Bernard Lodge divestment enters phase 4 of its divestment process. Offering residential townhouse lots for sale. Over 22.8 acres of dedicated townhouse blocks will be offered in a competitive divestment process. Visit bernardlodgeja.com for more info or give us a call at 876-929-4000. Be a part of the new and promising township by investing in Greater Bernard Lodge. Bids open in August 2024.
Back to school is upon us, and E-Zone will broadcast live from Stationery World and Book Center at 5 Sandringham Avenue on August 16, 2024. Stationery World is having their hassle-free back-to-school shopping spree. Stationery World has books from primary to tertiary level, bags, uniforms, stationery items, papers, cabinets, lockers, laptops, printers, printer ink, and more. It's Stationery World's hassle-free back-to-school shopping spree. They're a one-stop shop for all your back-to-school needs. That's a live broadcast of E-Zone from 3 to 5 p.m. on August 16, 2024. Shop for your back-to-school items and catch Nationwide 90 FM at 5 Sandringham Avenue. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Stationery World and Book Center Limited.
Good afternoon. With your sports report, I am Alex Raby. We roll things off with some cricket as captain of the West Indies, Craig Brathwaite, says having 3 Guyanese players in the squad will give them the Windies a slight advantage when they face South Africa in the second test at Providence in Guyana starting tomorrow. These players are Tevin Imlach, Shamar Joseph and Gudakesh Motie. Brathwaite says the players have been exchanging their knowledge off the pitch.
Obviously, some of the Guyanese players in the team, would know it better than most of the players. So I think the communication between the guys has been good, and it's the slowest pitch. We all know that, and it's just the work of how as individual players we want to go about scoring runs and obviously bowling spells. That's right.
However, he is calling on the players to give their best performance in every area of the game.
I think it's important to get a good first in this total. That's one thing as a battle group we discuss. Bowling wise is just to be disciplined. I think we were decent in the first game, and we just gotta aim to be better. I think batting wise, the first innings, the total, we could have put more runs on the board. So as I said, I think that was a big focus of ours in terms of a good first innings total. Bowling wise, obviously pitch didn't offer much, especially for the fast bowlers. They didn't get much spin in the first innings as well. But I think we were quite disciplined. I was happy the guys scored out pretty much 3 runs going over for the innings. So I was happy with that. But I just think it's important to get a good all-round game. Batting wise, obviously we gotta come to the party. First innings is very crucial, I think, on this pitch. And then bowling wise is I think dot balls are very important.
Craig Brathwaite. In the meantime, coach of the West Indies, Andre Kohli, says the drawn first test against South Africa is behind them as they prepare to face the Proteas in the second match in Guyana starting tomorrow. Kohli says the players are aware that the conditions at the Providence Stadium will be different from what they faced at the Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad and Tobago.
Every test match is different. As you said, we have moved to a different location, a different venue in Guyana. So we obviously have to plan to suit based on the conditions, what we expect here.
Meanwhile, pace bowler Jayden Seales, who plays county cricket in England, picked up 3 wickets in the first test. Kohli described the Trinidadian as disciplined.
There's no doubt that Jayden has a lot of talent. He's been very good for Sussex in county cricket. He's been good for us prior to injury and coming back from injury. And he continues to learn, having someone like Kimar in the squad, and Alzari was there recently, and Jason. He has experience within the squad to actually tap into. He's quite expressive. He understands how he bowls, how he sets up against different batters and different conditions. So he's constantly learning. And what you referred to about being comfortable with during boring conditions is really, really about discipline. Recognizing the situation and working out what is required, and as you said, being disciplined when required. There's a period of time when you're bowling well and the wickets are coming and you're creating opportunities, and he's working through that with each opportunity that he's been given.
Andre Kohli, I'm Alric Swiby, and that's your sports.
Live exquisite this year with new arrival black and chrome fixtures for your home at Unique Living. Select from a wide variety of rain shower systems, fabulous faucets, and stylish sinks to suit your kitchen and bathrooms. Get uncompromised quality and style unique to you. Shop everything new at Unique Living, Jamaica's leading shower and faucets provider. Visit shop number 630 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call 876-755-3661-2.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Energize your life the right way with DBJ. Yeah, you must can save enough energy solution. Choose one today for your house or your business. Money I go save. Yeah, DBJ. DBJ. Energize your life the right way. The Development Bank of Jamaica Limited is here to help you with the purchase and installation of renewable energy systems to help you save on your energy bill. Contact your business banker or bank today. Energize your business or home the right way with DBJ Energy Loan.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dusk,
Riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between. Bulletins After Dark with Kareem Bulletins each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Bulletins After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Bulletins After Dark.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Cover Story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the Cover Story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And it's a very busy afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, and we start the Cover Story, in case you haven't heard, with what we reported at the top of the bulletin. One of the suspects in Sunday's killing of 8 Jamaicans in Cherry Tree Lane, Clarendon, was shot and killed this afternoon in a confrontation with the police. That incident reportedly occurring shortly after 4. The man was shot dead in the Osborne Store district of Clarendon.
Well, we do not have his identity yet, but it's understood he's believed to be one of the suspected triggermen in the mass murder on Sunday. He reportedly challenged the police during an operation and was shot. The suspect was carried to hospital where he was pronounced dead.
And we are trying our best to get members of the High Command and the CCN on the record regarding this matter. We have spoken to members of the security hierarchy off the record, so we are comfortable reporting what we have. But so soon as we get somebody on the record, we'll bring that to you. Now, it's been a busy day, Siobhan, because earlier the Prime Minister had a press conference, his second this week, at the office of the Prime Minister. And he has announced a $25 million fund that's been set up for people who provide information leading to the arrests of those responsible for the brutal attack on Sunday.
8 people were murdered and 9 injured in Sunday's attack, and the Prime Minister was speaking during a media briefing at Jamaica House on Wednesday.
Another action that the government will take in support of promoting an information-rich environment is that we have now established a fund of 25 million Jamaican dollars. The fund is in the Ministry of National Security, and it is focused primarily on this incident. We will provide 6 million Jamaican dollars for information, credible information, and intelligence leading to the arrest and charge of any suspect involved in the killing, particularly those who were involved in pulling the trigger. And that is up to a maximum amount of $1 million per person. Secondly, we will provide $5 million for information aiding in the investigation, arrest, and charge of facilitators of this criminal act, up to a maximum of $1.5 million per person. We're particularly interested in the facilitators and the organizers. The facilitators, those who provided the weapons or gave access to the weapons and ammunition, access to the motor vehicle, organized, made the telephone calls, made the connections. We are particularly interested in those persons. We will give a reward for the provision of information and intelligence leading to the recovery of the firearms that were involved in this killing. We are particularly interested in that and any information on the networks involved in the supply of those firearms. And we will provide $5 million for the supply of information and intelligence resulting in the securing of evidence, any form of evidence, against the gangs that were involved in this operation. Lastly, we will provide a fund of $5 million leading to the arrest and charge for anyone harboring the criminal gangs or their associates, a maximum of $800,000 per person identified. So this is a $25 million fund that is aimed at increasing the pace at which information is flowing in for the investigation. This fund will be under the administration of the Ministry of National Security, and the traditional methods of providing information can be used, but any method that you use to get the information in, once it is forwarded to the Ministry of National Security and the relevant details are available, the payments will be made securely. I wish to remind you of the methods of contact to provide information to the security forces securely. Crime Stop, 311, Police Emergency, 119, the NIB, National Investigation Bureau tip line, 811, MOCA tip line, 888 MOCA tip, that is 888-662-2847. And the JDF tip line, 837-8888.
You know, Siobhan, the Prime Minister there, and we've been saying repeatedly that citizens have a responsibility to play in the state's response to these kinds of things. I appreciate the fact that the state is now incentivizing citizens to play that role. I mean, obviously we've always had Crime Stop, but it's heartening and encouraging to see the state literally putting its money where its mouth is, yeah? To say that what has happened is intolerable. We need your assistance in bringing those responsible to justice, and we are willing to incentivize that participation in the fight against crime. So I applaud this, and I'm hopeful that it will serve as an impetus for citizens to actually participate and contribute what they know.
And I hope the incentivization also is done in such a secure manner that the same citizens do not feel that by providing this information they're putting themselves under threat.
And it's why it's so important that later in the cover story we're going to have that conversation with Crime Stop, because as Major Jarrett told us here yesterday, I think he said in the more than 30-year history of Crime Stop, they've never had a leak. They've never had a situation where somebody's who has provided them with information that their security has been compromised. That's a positive message that I think needs to resonate, that people need to know that they will be safe. And you're absolutely right, because that's going to be important, as we asked him yesterday. You know, that trust and that confidence has to be backed by people knowing that they'll be secured.
Well, meanwhile, the Prime Minister says gangs have been operating on intelligence from several mediums to carry out acts of terror.
In the last press conference, somebody said, would you describe this as a mass shooting? I would say, if you were to use the language in a semantic way, yes, it is a mass shooting. But mass shootings have a particular connotation. I think a more accurate description that this is armed, organized violence perpetrated by criminal enterprises. So this is a gang-related event which is over and above what the average would have been. And so we are going to treat it in that way and focus on gangs. We have had the traditional notion that gangs are a social response to poverty, disenfranchisement, unemployment. I would suggest to those persons who hold this view that that is an outdated notion. The gangs that we are dealing with are highly resourced. They are not poor. They are not struggling for money. They operate as an enterprise. They have structure, they have leadership, and they have systems and rules. And I want you to also bear in mind that they operate on intelligence. They study our police force. They use information operations. They use our banking system. They use our telecommunication system. They use social media. They are well structured and well organized. And what they do is that they entrench themselves in communities and take advantage of poor, dispossessed youth. They give them guns. They use them as lookouts. They use them to commit crimes. They use the term, they lock the area. So they take over our young people, our unsuspecting women, and they use them as foot soldiers, as pawns in the game. And that is what we're dealing with. The entrenchment of this kind of organized armed violence is a threat not just to the communities in which they exist. It is a threat to the very stability of the state. When I went to the community of Cherry Tree on Monday, it was heartbreaking. It could be any community. In my own constituency, people play bingo all the time. The bingo table is a place of, social gathering. And this was not a drive-by. These men were deliberate. They stopped their vehicles, they came out, and they pursued victims. And they didn't do it in just one location. They left the location where the bingo was at and went to another location and did the same thing. So I want the nation to understand that this is a different level of criminality. You can only describe this as an act of terror. It wasn't carried out by someone who is mentally ill or someone with a social vendetta. This was carried out in the pursuit of a criminal vendetta. It is the use of violence in support of the entrenchment of the power of the gang. It is an act of terror, and it has to be treated in that way, and the public needs to understand the evolving nature of the criminality that we face. And what the government has been doing is building the capacity of our security forces to be able to address this level of criminality. Very instructive for me in visiting the community and speaking with the mother of one of the victims, who was very effusive in her praise for the police force in the area, that they had ongoing patrols. The area was under active police operations. But it is clear that these criminals would have studied the rhythm of the police and took an opportunity. This is the level of criminality that we are dealing with.
And that's also something I've been struggling with, Siobhan, just before we go to the break, where you hear from people in these communities who are affected by these crimes that we want more policing, we want enhanced measures. And then there are those who have other interests that they must defend and protect, and I understand that. But I think the society must start to ask those people with those interests, why do you know better than those who are being directly affected by the criminality and by the level of violence that we're seeing? I struggle with that. It's almost like someone being under the knife and you're telling them it doesn't hurt as bad as you think. I have a better approach. I have a great difficulty with that position. And I think it's time the society starts to press harder those voices who tell us this is not the approach. It can't just be that they use semantics like more boots on the ground or more social intervention. They have to get more specific than that, because clearly you saw the pictures, you heard the pain in those voices on Monday. These people are hurting and they want security.
There's a lot to unpack there, Ricardo, but considering that we're pressed for time, I'll also say that I share your concerns, but the break is upon us.
Drive Hyundai. Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Welcome back, listeners, viewers, as we give you some snippets from the Prime Minister's press conference today, addressing concerns over the, I guess we can call it the massacre, which took place on Cherry Tree Lane over the weekend.
Right, and the Prime Minister made the point that a new Corrections Act is being drafted as an anti-gang measure.
Are we considering legislative measures, and are we considering the construction of a new prison? The legislative measures are already underway. We have made amendments to the Corrections Act to increase penalties for contraband. I will allow the Minister to explain where we are with the new Corrections Act, but there is a new Corrections Act being drafted. As it relates to the construction of a new prison facility, yes, we have actually had many discussions. We actually have draft plans. The issue, of course, is the budgetary constraints. There are many demands on the budget. Building a new prison would certainly draw quite a bit of political attention as to whether or not that is wise use of funds when we need new hospitals, new schools, roads, and all the other issues. So we have to be very careful as a government how we make these kinds of fiscal allocations. But I'm thinking now, obviously, and in the consciousness of the public, that clearly there needs to be more modern prison facilities where we can effectively cut off the communication and the contact of prisoners. So the contemplation that we have and that we have started to develop plans, I believe, CDS, you might want to say a few words on the plans that we have, is really focused on how we can build a high security facility where these kinds of criminal masterminds can be effectively separated from the society.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness there.
Meanwhile, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says a state of public emergency, SOE, has been declared for the parish of Clarendon.
After careful consideration and review of the current situation and the result of events in Clarendon, His Excellency the Governor General has declared a state of public emergency for the parish of Clarendon. The Honourable Prime Minister has advised the Governor General to make such a declaration on the recommendation of the Chief of Defence Staff and the Commissioner of Police. Our informed assessment is that high levels of violent criminal activity experienced within the specified areas of such nature and such an extensive scale that it endangers public safety. This large single account of murders within the parish of Clarendon is attributed to ongoing violence within the division that had reached a tenuous magnitude, resulting in the eventual perpetration of murders as a means of intimidation and further as a form of reprisal as gangs seek to dominate existing turf. Again, to gain new turf and benefit from lagers. It is foreseen that this current rate of perpetuation will escalate on the consideration that additional numbers of gangs across the division will inevitably be impacted and hence minded to perpetrate similar acts of intimidation and reprisal. A state of emergency was declared on the 23rd of November 2023 in Clarendon and expired on the 6th of December 2023. During this period, the division experienced one shooting incident only. This amounts to a reduction of 100% in murder and 50% in shooting incident over this 14-day period, when compared to an equivalent period of time prior to the SOE, during which 3 murders and 2 shooting incidents were recorded. This state of public emergency comes not only as a single act. The government will be attacking gangs in all sections of Jamaica. There were 4 curfews across the southern belt last night in division, the Clarendon division, and in the corporate area. There are multiple operations across the western belt and outside of Kingston in areas where it is known that gangs operate. Several people were detained. The police will have those details. Events of this nature will be met with the full force of the law, and the government will not be shy in taking all steps to provide the police with required powers to do so. An event of this sort will have to go back over a decade to identify such an event. But I recall with some graphic view as it happened in my own constituency, when on one afternoon there was 19 shootings, 11 deaths. The police retaliated with the traditional tools. By Monday morning there was 27 deaths. I recall very graphically, and I see some of the officers here recall it with, recall the event. Events of this sort do not leave your mind for life. So we take steps to provide the police with the additional tools to prevent reprisals and counter-reprisal. And we will not deter or apologize for such activity. This government is committed to protect the lives of Jamaicans, all its citizens. We note that, in fact, at the present time, the reduction in major crimes and homicide has been significant. The 17% reduction in homicide, we'll have to go back 20 years to identify where this kind of reduction took place. We also have provided the police with this kind of tools, strong and effective means of intercepting and apprehending violence producers, because today too we are confident the police is in a much better position than they were a decade ago. They are stronger, they are better equipped, and we have a team of highly professional police officers. The sub-officers and commanding officers on the road today, I am confident, and I know, and they are not police officers in the police force because it's a job of last resort. They are bright young Jamaicans, experienced officers who are in the police force because they want to be police officers. They are committed to maintaining peace and good order. As a government, we will give them the tools required to be able to be effective against these horrendous criminals who are taking this kind of activity. Today, we have declared a state of emergency in Clarendon, will utilize the 14 days, and any discussion of any further activity depends on the situation at the end of the day. But we are confident the police will use these tools, supported by the Jamaica Defence Force, to effectively control the rise of criminal violence in Clarendon.
That's Dr. Horace Chang, the Minister of National Security. And listeners, in news just coming to hand, the JCF and MOCA and the JDF, the three law enforcement agencies, they have now confirmed what Nationwide was reporting at the top of our bulletin. The media release says a suspect in the Cherry Tree Lane murders fatally shot during confrontation with the police. MOCA says one of the men suspected of being a shooter in last Sunday's mass killing in Cherry Tree Lane was fatally shot this afternoon during a targeted operation by members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force's Fugitive Apprehension Team and the Clarendon Operational Support Unit in Osborne Store, Clarendon.
It goes on to say the dead man has been identified as Steve Smith, otherwise called Thicka or Flybrain, and is suspected of being involved in numerous contract-related killings and other serious and illicit activities in Clarendon and other parishes. He was wanted by the Maypen police for murder for some time and was a person of interest in several other murder investigations. Smith was a prime suspect as one of the shooters in last Sunday's Cherry Tree Lane shooting, which left 8 people dead and 9 injured.
The law enforcement agencies continue. Reports are that members of the JCF's Fugitive Apprehension Team and the Clarendon Operational Support Team went to a location in Osborne Store, Clarendon today in search of Smith and other men who were suspected of being involved in Sunday's multiple murder. There was a confrontation during which Smith was shot and injured. He was taken to the Maypen Hospital where he was pronounced dead. And we should tell the listeners also, Siobhan, that the law enforcement agencies have provided a picture of Smith. So if you are watching on our YouTube channel, we've put that up for you. This is Steve Smith, otherwise called Thicka or Flybrain.
They also say the matter has been reported to INCOM, who have begun their own investigations, and MOCA says today's operation was part of a recently launched joint security operation led by the Jamaica Constabulary Force in collaboration with the Jamaica Defence Force and the Major Organised Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency. Its mission is to identify, apprehend, and bring the perpetrators to justice and to restore normalcy to the affected communities.
The security forces are reminding suspects to surrender peacefully when they are being apprehended and not to challenge the members of law enforcement. They have also appealed for the continued cooperation and support of the community and is urging anyone at all with information related to the incidents to come forward and to share what they know through any of these anonymous reporting mechanisms. You can call Crime Stop at 311, the JDF tip line at 876-837-8888. That's 876-837-8888. Or MOCA's anonymous tip line, 888-MOCA-TIP. And this statement is signed jointly by the JCF, the JDF, and MOCA. So repeating, the suspect shot and killed this afternoon is believed to be one of the triggermen involved in Sunday's massacre. His name is identified as Steve Smith, otherwise called Thicka or Flybrain. The JCF's Fugitive Apprehension Team and the Clarendon Operational Support Unit went in search of him in Osborne Store. He challenged the police and he was shot, taken to hospital, and pronounced dead. Yeah? So, Prime Minister promised an all-out assault, and what is it now? 48 hours? 72 hours later?
Yeah, roughly 50 hours or so.
We are seeing some, what do I call this now? I want to be slow to say positive because, anybody dying is never positive, but certainly fruits of the police action in Clarendon, that entire parish being under a state of emergency.
Well, the only thing I could add is it would have been better if he had turned himself in and faced the court system rather than meeting his demise at the hands of the police in such a manner. So I can only agree with the police, the JDF. Do not challenge the police when they're trying to bring you in. Just be brought in and face the music, so to speak.
Remember the choice given. You either face a judge or you face your maker. That's the cover story. The headlines at 6 are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
6 o'clock.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. A suspect in the brutal murder of 8 people in Clarendon on Sunday was killed during a confrontation with a joint police-military team this afternoon. The dead man has been identified as Steve Smith, otherwise called Thicka or Flybrain. Flybrain was shot dead in the Osborne Store district in the parish. The government has established a $25 million fund for information related to Sunday's mass killing in Cherry Tree Lane, Clarendon.
We will provide $6 million Jamaican dollars for information leading to the arrest and charge of any suspect involved in the killing, particularly those who were involved in pulling the trigger, and that is up to a maximum amount of $1 million per person. Secondly, we will provide $5 million for information aiding in the investigation, arrest, and charge of facilitators of this criminal act, up to a maximum of $1.5 million per person. We're particularly interested those who provided the weapons, access to the motor vehicle, organized, made the telephone calls, made the connections. We're particularly interested in those persons.
The Prime Minister says cash rewards will be given to persons who provide information related to the firearms used in the attack, as well as evidence tying the attackers to the crime.
We will give a reward for the provision of information and intelligence leading to the recovery of the firearms that were involved in this killing. We're particularly interested in that and any information on the networks involved in the supply of those firearms. And we will provide $5 million for the supply of information and intelligence resulting in the securing of evidence, any form of evidence, against the gangs that were involved in this operation.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness. The Holness administration is far advanced in plans to build a new maximum security prison to house what's being described as criminal masterminds in society. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the disclosure at a media briefing at his St. Andrew offices on Wednesday.
Clearly, there needs to be more modern prison facilities where we can effectively cut off the communication and the contact of prisoners. So the contemplation that we have and that we have started to develop plans, I believe, is really focused on how we can build a high security facility where these kinds of criminal masterminds can be effectively separated from the society.
The matter of a new prison has taken on renewed urgency following police reports that one of the suspected masterminds of Sunday's mass shooting in a Cherry Tree Lane, Clarendon, was ordered by an individual now behind bars. Holness says the consideration of a new prison has to be balanced against other national priorities.
The issue, of course, is the budgetary constraints. There are many demands on the budget. Building a new prison would certainly draw quite a bit of political attention as to whether or not that is wise use of funds when we need new hospitals, new schools, roads, and all the other issues. So we have to be very careful as a government how we make these kinds of fiscal allocations.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Associate Professor of Political Science at Elon University, Dr. Damian Blake, says Jamaica needs a comprehensive cultural reorientation to combat the country's crime rate.
These young men, our gangs, these dons, they are evolving within the cultural space of Jamaica land we love, right? And we have had a love affair, whether we want to admit it or not. There has been a love affair among these young men and within these spaces with badness. It's badness honor. So the income of the dead. Somebody after dead back, reprisal killing. That is driving a lot of the violence in our community. So we need to have a kind of cultural reorientation. It's a longer term thing, but it's something that all Jamaicans can get on board with. Many of us as Jamaicans, we know people who are involved in badness, and sometimes we don't talk about that. We don't kind of disown it, disbar it, walk away from it. We keep these people close sometimes in case that we may think we need them to carry out something on our behalf.
Dr. Blake notes that local criminal networks have expanded their reach across borders, further undermining national security.
Just look at what's happening with the whole transnational thing, right? You have guys who are overseas. The overseas don is a very dangerous kind of don, This is someone who is not in the country and who is sponsoring the proceeds of violence. He's calling shots. He's getting young men to pull together to carry out a reprisal killing. How does that work? It works with these kinds of material things, certainly, but there's a cultural orientation that we need to talk some more about these things, right? Somebody has to dead back, as I said before, the income of the dead kind of a culture. It's very pervasive across the Jamaican landscape. When we are partying, look at the ways in which we party, the ways that we speak. Again, these are longer term things. But if we keep on chipping at them culturally, I think that we can save Jamaica still.
Dr. Damian Blake, Associate Professor of Political Science at Elon University. Meanwhile, criminologist Dr. Jason Mackay believes that an immediate and drastic approach is necessary to protect lives, dismantle criminal networks, and uphold the rule of law.
Although the most responsible thing is a long-term plan that deals with the culture and the social aspects of crime and the economics of crime, the immediate action is not going to come from a social solution. It's going to come from a police solution and a parliamentary solution, a law that allows for remand without evidence, just like the Suppression of Crime Act did. If you pass that law, which you can't unless you adjust the Constitution, then you could actually have a drastic situation where what has occurred in Clarendon could not occur. But that now requires a constitutional change, and after that requires an actual law to be introduced that allows for remand without presenting it to a court, that type of drastic thing.
Dr. Jason Mackay, criminologist. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smikle. Sports is next.
Together we're our people standing strong. 3 million Jamaicans, let's work as one. Such a course and work with a plan. Proud and tall, let's make the whole world understand. Every Jamaican have the heart of a champion. Such a core, big up with champions. Watch my style, watch my skill, watch my flow. Standing out anywhere where we go. Many goals, many dreams, many strides. On the black, green and gold, and we pride. Proud and tall, let's make the whole world understand. We are strong when we are one, Sagicor, celebrating Jamaican success.
My Mega Mart, best value by far.
With so much to do in one location, make Mega Mart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills. Fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Mega Mart, the best value by far.
My Mega Mart, best value by far.
Friend, it's the best decision we've ever made to further our education. We finally have our dream jobs. The Student Loan Bureau did this for us, you know. Yes, girl, it was a lot of work, but we made it. All I have to start thinking about right now is to repay my student loan, and with SLB's low interest rate, I won't feel burdened at all. Let's make sure others can achieve their dreams too.
Visit our website at slbja.com for more details and follow all our social media platforms to be in the loop.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alex Raby. Now, an athletics coaching seminar with head coach of Racers Track Club Glenn Mills as the main speaker was conducted in Nanterre, France, as one of the first activities to be undertaken under the City Twinning Agreement signed in the margins of the Paris Olympics. The official twinning of Nanterre, France, with Jamaica's historic Spanish town, is a move that promises to strengthen cultural ties and unlock new tourism opportunities between the two cities. The twinning of both cities was the culmination of years of discussions between Minister of Sports Oliver Grains and the municipal authorities in France. Mills says the seminar was well received.
The seminar went fairly well. The participants were enthused, and they asked several good questions, and I think I was able to answer well, and the pointers that we discussed and so on, I'm sure will benefit them in their continued coaching jobs.
He dismissed suggestions that the sharing of knowledge will allow other countries to move ahead of Jamaica in the track and field arena.
Oh, that's nonsense. It's good to interact and to discuss and to share knowledge and get knowledge. I don't believe that the knowledge that we have is unique to us and us alone. I think what we do is that we are able to use that knowledge in a more successful way and get high quality results. And nobody can take that away from us.
Glenn Mills. Now, the Athletics Integrity Unit has launched an appeal after USA sprinter Aaron Knighton was cleared over a doping offence, allowing him to compete at the Paris 2024 Olympics. The appeal has been lodged with the Court of Arbitration for Sports, CAS. Knighton tested positive for trenbolone, a banned substance used for muscle growth, in March, but avoided a ban following an independent arbitrator's ruling. The United States Anti-Doping Agency, USADA, said the independent arbitrator ruled he more than likely digested the banned substance by eating contaminated meat. The 200 meters world silver medalist went on to compete at the Olympics and finished fourth in the men's 200 meters final. Now on to cricket, as captain of the West Indies, Craig Brathwaite, says having 3 Guyanese players in the squad will give the Windies a slight advantage when they face South Africa in the second test at Providence in Guyana starting tomorrow. These players are Tevin Imlach, Shamar Joseph and Gudakesh Motie. Brathwaite says the players have been exchanging their knowledge off the pitch.
Obviously, some of the Guyanese players in the team would know it better than most of the players. So I think the communication between the guys has been good, and it's the slowest pitch. We all know that, and it's just a work of how as individual players we want to go about scoring runs and obviously bowling spells. That's right.
However, he's calling on the players to give their best performance in every era of the game.
I think it's important to get a good first in this total. That's one thing as a batting group we discuss. Bowling wise is just to be disciplined. I think we were decent in first game, and we just gotta aim to be better. I think batting was the first innings, the total, we could have put more runs on the board. So as I said, I think that was a big focus of ours in terms of a good first innings total. Bowling was obviously pitch didn't offer much, especially for the fast bowlers. They didn't get much spin in the first innings as well. But I think we were quite disciplined. I was happy the guys scored out pretty much 3 runs on over for the innings. So I was happy with that. But I just think it's important to get a good all-around game. Batting wise, obviously we gotta come to the party. First innings is very crucial, I think, on this pitch. And then bowling wise is I think dot balls are very important.
Craig Brathwaite. In the meantime, coach of the West Indies Andre Coley says the drawn first test against South Africa is behind them as they prepare to face the Proteas in the second match in Guyana starting tomorrow. Coley says the players are aware that the conditions at the Providence Stadium will be different from what they faced at the Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad and Tobago.
Every test match is different. As you've said, we have moved to a different location, a different venue in Guyana. So we obviously have to plan to suit based on the conditions what we expect here.
Meanwhile, pace bowler Jayden Seales, who plays county cricket in England, picked up 3 wickets in the first test. Coley described the Trinidadian as disciplined.
There's no doubt that Jayden has a lot of talent. He's been very good for Sussex in county cricket. He's been, good for us prior to injury and coming back from injury. And he continues to learn, having someone like Kimar in the squad, and Alzari was there recently, and Jason. He has experience within the squad to actually tap into. He's quite expressive. He understands how he bowls, how he sets up against different batters and different conditions. So he's constantly learning. And what you referred to about being comfortable with during boring conditions is really, really about discipline. Recognizing the situation and working out what is required, and as you said, being disciplined when required. There's a period of time when you're bowling well and the wickets are coming and you're creating opportunities. And he's working through that with each opportunity that he's been given.
Andre Coley. Now, captain of the West Indies women Hayley Matthews starred with bat and ball as Welsh Fire secured a knockout place in the Women's 100 with a 9-wicket win over Southern Brave. Matthews took 4 for 14 as Brave were skittled out for just 103 before hitting an unbeaten 35 from 26 balls as Fire won with 26 balls to spare. Fire skipper Tommy Beaumont top scored with a blistering unbeaten 59 from 40 balls, including 10 fours. Brave struggled with the bat, slumping to 15 for 3 and 47 for 7, with Australian Jessie Johansson taking 3 for 21. Chloe Tryon was the only Brave batter to show any resistance, scoring 55 from 38 balls, more than half of their total. Fire topped the group and progressed direct to the final after Oval Invincible beat Trent Rockers by 5 wickets in Wednesday's late game. Despite their win, the Invincibles could not improve their net run rate to overall Fire and avoid going into the eliminator. Now to gymnastics, as the International Olympic Committee and a court of appeals have ruled in Romania's favour, but the battle for Jordan Child's bronze medal isn't over. The US gymnastics vows to take the fight to the highest court in Switzerland. Romania announced Tuesday that it's moving forward with a medal ceremony for gymnast Ana Barbosa. This is all in the wake of the IOC appearing to reject Romania's proposal that all 3 athletes involved in the dispute be awarded bronze medals. But there's also new information about the 3-person panel convened by the Court of Arbitration for Sports CAS, which ruled to strip Childs of her medal. The chair of the panel reportedly has active ties to Romania, which would be a clear conflict of interest. Yet he was still allowed to participate in a decision that ruled in favor of Romania. Now on to boxing, as Jamaica will not send a team to the annual Guyana Caribbean Schoolboy Boxing Championships. The tournament is set to start on Friday. Joseph Rez Pereira tells us more.
Whether an invitation was sent to the Jamaica Boxing Association, that needs to be investigated. But I can confirm that Guyana, as the host, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, Antigua, Suriname, and Grenada, they will all be taking part in the opening ceremony on Friday evening. And it will be interesting to find out whether Jamaica was invited, and if they were not, that is not a good indication of Caribbean unity.
Joseph Rez Pereira. Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandes has signed a new contract that will extend his stay at Old Trafford until June 2027, with the option for a further year. The Portugal midfielder has scored 79 goals and contributed 67 assists in his 234 appearances for the club. Fernandes joined United from Sporting Lisbon in January 2020 for £47 million, and his previous deal, which he signed in 2022, was set to expire in 2026. And finally, in lacrosse, as Jamaica's 21-member team is in China for the World Lacrosse Women's Under-20 Championships from August 15 to 24. The Jamaicans are drawn in Pool D with England, Hong Kong, Ireland and Japan. Jamaica's first match will be against Hong Kong on Thursday at 6 a.m. Jamaica time. The following day, they'll play England, followed by a match against Japan, before closing out the preliminary round with a match against Ireland on August 19. I'm Alric Swiby, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612 to 5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:19.
For hard-to-get medications, over-the-counter and chemotherapy drugs, visit Dean's Pharmacy Pepin. When others don't have it, we do. Dean's Pharmacy. Feeling better starts right here.
The temperature by Dean's Pharmacy, feeling better, starts right here is
32 degrees Celsius in City Kingston and 31 in Montego Bay.
Drive Hyundai. Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Hurt less with Pharma Joint Flex. Taking Pharma Joint Flex daily helps to repair, replenish, and revitalize worn, damaged cartilage that causes joint pain. Do you suffer from arthritis and chronic joint pain? Then Pharma Joint Flex is the remedy for you. Our all-natural formula contains glucosamine and chondroitin, ingredients for joint repair, so you can get relief. Ask your pharmacist or doctor for Pharma Joint Flex, distributed by Massey.
It is the 10th annual Good Samaritan 5K Health Run Walk. This year, our main beneficiaries are the children of the Community-Based Rehabilitation Jamaica, CBRJ. On Sunday, August the 25th at 6:30 a.m., we run, walk, and wheel to raise funds for children with disabilities. The GS 5K over the years has raised funds for various charitable organizations and assisted with community projects, health initiatives, and back-to-school support. For our 10th anniversary, we invite you to register for this 5K and give hope to the children with disabilities. To register, you can visit my.raceresult.com or scan the QR code. The GS 10th Anniversary 5K, Sunday the 25th of August. Race starts at 6:30 a.m., warm up at 6 a.m. on the grounds of the Andrews Memorial Seventh-day Adventist Church. The GS 5K, 10 years of helping. Help us, help more.
School is upon us, and E-Zone will broadcast live from Stationery World and Book Center at 5 Sandringham Avenue on August 16, 2024. Stationery World is having their hassle-free back-to-school shopping spree. Stationery World has books from primary to tertiary level, bags, uniforms, stationery items, papers, cabinets, lockers, laptops, printers, printer ink, and more. It's Stationery World's hassle-free back-to-school shopping spree. They're a one-stop shop for all your back-to-school needs. That's a live broadcast of E-Zone from 3 to 5 p.m. on August 16, 2024. Shop for your back-to-school items and catch Nationwide 90 FM at 5 Sandringham Avenue. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Stationery World and Book Center Limited.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robian Williams. It's midweek. A special good evening to our friends on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Some of you have been with us from morning till now, and we appreciate you. We invite you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. And, it's incentives. The government has established a $25 million fund for information related to Sunday's mass killing in Cherry Tree Lane, Four Paths in Clarendon. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, he made the announcement at a press conference at his St. Andrew office on Wednesday. Prime Minister Holness says rewards ranging from $1 to $1.5 million per person will be available to those that provide information to the people that will provide information. Yes? Yeah? That leads to the apprehension of the suspects and facilitators of Sunday's gruesome attack.
We will provide $6 million Jamaican dollars for information leading to the arrest and charge of any suspect involved in the killing, particularly those who were involved in pulling the trigger, and that is up to a maximum amount of $1 million per person. Secondly, we will provide $5 million for information aiding in the investigation, arrest and charge of facilitators of this criminal act, up to a maximum of $1.5 million per person. We're particularly interested those who provided the weapons, access to the motor vehicle, organized, made the telephone calls, made the connections. We're particularly interested in those persons.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness there. So in public opinion this evening, we're asking, does a cash incentive increase the likelihood that you would give information to the police? Well, let's get to the comments real quick on our social media platform. Let me see. Jenna is saying, police CM1 point you out to the criminals. Christopher Isaac saying, the people are fearful of the repercussions that might be affected upon them or their loved ones. Whilst the authorities may be able to protect an immediate family, they'll not be able to protect all members of that family. I'm guessing your answer is no. Prince Wellington is saying, yeah, man, because the prosperity train move at a slow pace, where only the politicians seem to be reaping the benefits. Okay. Sean Major Campbell says, the only incentive I would require is the information leading to justice for victims and for our nation. I hope, though, that this incentive enhances the process leading to justice for one and justice for all. Philip Kidd says, no, the police getting pay, let them do their job. And Fabian Off-White says, I got money many times from the NYPD. Okay, that's what you're saying, Fabian Off-White. Rosalind Box says, so sad that it has come to this. Indeed, it is sad. O'Brien Johnson says, it is my civic duty. Don't need to pay once I remain anonymous. Well, not many people see it that way, O'Brien Johnson, but thank you so much for your comment. Robert Ranger says, I'll do it for free. Yeah? Beverly Barrett says, yes. She is more likely, to give information to the police with a cash incentive. No. A cash incentive increase. Yeah. Increasing her likelihood of giving information to the police. Beverly Barrett Natalie Winter says no. And our very own Philip Jackson saying here, some of us just the friends of criminal, so we will make excuse and blame police about them telling criminal we give them information. Okay. All right, if you're just joining us, we're inside the court of public opinion. We're asking you, does a cash incentive increase the likelihood that you would give information to the police? And this is coming from the government. They have established a $25 million fund for information related to Sunday's mass killing in Cherry Tree Lane, Four Paths in Clarendon. Or anybody that can provide information that leads to the apprehension of the suspects and facilitators, you can get rewards ranging from $1 to $1.5 million, and that's per person. All right, let me see. Going to the comments on Instagram, Mimi Dunn says, real life and movie are two different things. As some movie talk this, real life, you lose your life quicker before you're done talk. That's the sad state of the society. Negros is saying, if me can chat and get away with it, of course, I would inform. Me must find a way to help people who criminals have ruined their lives. Okay. Farron Square says, bring it one. I have tons of information on everyone from everywhere. Okay. Rose Petals is, perhaps with a laughing emoji. While she's saying, nope. Realtor named Brenda, yeah. She's saying yes if the information is credible and not frivolous. Yeah, I wonder how. Shambhala says definitely, but not our local police. 40 says no, me not trust police. I'd rather give anonymous without reward. Willie Ryan Wilson saying that it would for me, but we must be realistic. The people don't trust the system. 6 are one, half dozen are the other. You know, from a Jamaican say that to you, you know what that mean. On our X platform, I stand with law saying no, I will give info once I know it's solid without the need for a payout. It can work for who are in need, but the secure payment part should be paramount. JJ says, if me did ever know criminals more than rich. Expressing thoughts saying, right now I just want a Prips and even one of those Clarendon shooters. Not that I wouldn't offer up the information for free, but the incentive of cash is a nice touch to putting away those, and she calls them germs. Wow. Oh, okay. C-Mac is asking, C-Mac is being a little bit sarcastic here, is asking, is the sky blue? Okay. Lance Thompson is saying money is always a motivating force, so yes, it will work. Aurelius is saying not for me, I'll do it for free. And I realize that we've been getting those responses, you know. I'll do it for free, no need for the payment. Let's see. Don O'Mealy says nope, not at all. Afghanistan Rasta say yes, criminals must walk out or get chalk out. Okay. Wow. Herbert is saying, for years, Crime Stop has offered cash incentives to persons providing the police with good information. It seems that the program has been reasonably successful. That is empirical evidence that case incentives do yield positive rewards. Chantal is saying, I don't need money to report a criminal. If you're just joining us, does a cash incentive increase the likelihood that you would give information to the police? Well, I can tell you that based on what the Prime Minister said earlier today, to provide credible information or intelligence toward the arrest and charge of criminal or gang suspects, that's 1 million per arrested person. To provide credible information, aiding in the investigation and arrest and charge of facilitators of criminal gang activities, that's a maximum of 1.5 million per person arrested. Yeah, some incentives there. Let me see if I can get to some of the comments on our YouTube platform real quick. Who am I? Let me read your comment. Who am I? Say enough police are going to set up them one little bounty hunter for collect the millions. Wow. Okay, Kirk is saying hand them over and take the money because you may be taken out for doing nothing. Anyway, yeah. Kirk Allen says, could be blood money, but I'm in. Okay. Carlene Smith says, hope they don't tell lies on persons for the money too. But then you have to have the evidence, you know. There has to be some sort of evidence. There's a cash incentive for, I believe, let me see here. I have it here, a cash incentive. The supply of information or intelligence resulting in the securing of evidence. Yes, in criminal gang investigations, a maximum of 250,000 per person. All right, let me see. Wallace is questioning, how are those people going to spend 5 million in the ghetto without being outstanding? Well, just lift up. Grace Ben says rewards are offered in America for information, but if you will give information without tip, okay, you're saying if you can give the information, give it, that would be good. Yeah. Andrea Henry is questioning, is Intel being verified first before the payout? But that's a must. That is a must. Remember, you know, it must lead to the arrest or charge of. Or let me see if I can get in some more information to you there. Yeah, to provide credible information or intelligence aiding in the investigation and arrest and charge of facilitators of criminal gang activities, 1.5 mil. So I don't know if you have to wait until a conviction, but it doesn't say. No, it doesn't say. It just says to provide credible information, intelligence aiding in the investigation and arrest and charge of facilitators. That's 1. the supply of credible information leading to the arrest of those harboring criminal gang members. So for those of you who know them, and have them in our yard, in our house, and on a bed, a maximum of 800,000 per case. Yes? Alex Smith says, these criminals better hide from my sight because trust me, I will talk without cash. Me tell a police in Jamaica, may I tape it and send it to police overseas. So anything wrong, FBI know where to go. Okay. All right. Let me see. Michael L says, I do not need a red cent to inform. You say, straight. Nothing wrong with being an informer. Yeah? Baby Toy says, no, it's not so easy to lift up. I do know. But I was just saying, I wasn't being serious. Baby Toy. Let me see. Donovan Walker says, informers save lives. Bev Thompson says, people be smart. If you talk for money, then lift up from where you were. Yeah? Wow, okay. Everton Chambers says, information must run place. Grace Ben rewards. Oh, I read that one already. Let me see if I can just scroll up to some more. To see if I can get in some more. Yes, who am I? I read yours already. Baby Toy says, payment for our life to be at peace and safe. Shake my head, sad. And he's saying, police can inform for me because when me land the info, the plane await for me, all them do is wire the money to me. Okay. Gloria Davis is saying, I don't want any money. Verly Green, I would go before now. I will run now. We say you would have walked before, but now you run go. That's what you're saying, Verly Green. Davy and Patty is saying, I would give the information only if I can trust the police. But big and serious, people. Big and serious. If you know something, say something. Say something. You even with these cash incentives, too much things are going on in Jamaica right now. Right now, we need all of we. If you're in the hearing of my voice, if you know something, say something. No, but wait so till it reach your doorstep. Or that, not go wait so till it reach your doorstep. If you know something, say something. Without a cash incentive or with a cash incentive. Doesn't really matter. Just say something. No wait so till it reach on a doorstep. Baby Toy said, get rid of the informer culture. And I heard somebody saying that Crime Stop and all those information tip lines and all of that, have you ever heard of anybody being affected or impacted after giving information? It's little, but yeah, if you know something, say something. Thank you guys so much for participating in our public opinion this evening. Up next, the business report. Stay tuned.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:37. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robian Williams. Verticast Media's term as the broadcast rights holder for the Premier League has concluded. In a release sent to customers, Verticast said that they are proud to have made Premier League matches available regionally and for the first time to the widest possible audience through the C Sport app, cable channels, and free-to-air television channels. Now, Verticast says, while the company acknowledges the distribution challenges encountered during the period, it remains committed to bringing top-tier sports content to viewers across the region. Consumer prices in the U.S. rose at the slowest pace in more than 3 years last month, bolstering the case for the central bank to start cutting interest rates. The Labor Department says overall prices rose 2.9% over the 12 months to July. Now, that's the smallest annual increase since March 2021, down from 3% in June. The monthly inflation report was being closely watched after signs of weaker than expected job growth in July sparked stock market turmoil and recession fears earlier this month. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 157 Jamaican dollars and 78 cents to buy $1 US, 200 Jamaican dollars and 83 cents to buy $1 British pound, and 115 Jamaican dollars and 18 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Whether you're overseas or in Jamaica, everybody wants their little piece of yard. Well, that's where a JMMB Bank Mortgage comes in. With JMMB, you'll get more support, more incentives, more benefits, more coverage with JMMB insurance brokers. And also, we give you more time to repay. Your JMMB mortgage expert will answer all of your questions and guide you through every step along the journey. You're not alone with JMMB. Contact us at info@jmmb.com and learn how you can get more than just a mortgage.
Hey, did you know that the Jamaica Stock Exchange has a loyalty program?
No.
What? Well, as a JSE Loyalty Club member, you are now able to earn rewards when you shop at any of the participating merchants island-wide.
But I don't own any stuff and I'm not a member.
No problem, man. Join the program by downloading the JSE Loyalty app, activate your account, and start racking up points with every purchase. Redeem points for goods and services at any participating merchant or choose to convert them into stocks.
So what if I already have stocks?
That's even better. It means that you are pre-enrolled on the program. You only need to download the app and activate. Start your portfolio. Grow your portfolio. Join our loyalty program and earn, save, or invest. The Jamaica Stock Exchange, where loyalty builds financial performance.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
It's 6:41. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the nation's business. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Now, as the authorities urge people to come forward with information they have on the Cherry Tree Lane massacre, Director of Communications at the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA, Major Basil Jarrett, is seeking to assure Jamaicans that their information will be kept confidential. 8 people were murdered and 9 injured in Sunday's attack in Clarendon.
There's the 888 MOCA tip, which we launched some time ago, and then there's Crime Stop. Crime Stop has been around since 1989. They've never had a source compromise, not one. I don't know what other indication of trust you can have when our number one line reporting body can say that in 30-odd years. They've never had a compromise. And so we're appealing to the public to give the security forces the support. I want to see the end of this. It's disheartening when we see what is happening in Jamaica. I saw a headline on Monday, mass murder. This is where we are now. We really need to take back this country. People need to find their values. We need to go back to basics, principles, right and wrong.
That's Major Basil Jarrett speaking with Nationwide at 5 on Tuesday. He says support of residents is paramount to prevent any further escalation of violence.
MOCA is bringing our intelligence and our investigative and our cyber capabilities to the fight. The JDF I've seen the JDF contingent here on the ground. It's also a very serious signal of intent. I know that the police officers here have been in the community. They've been talking to residents and they've been doing really good investigative work so far. The missing piece of the puzzle, though, if you ask me, is the community support. A crime like this doesn't happen in such a small community without someone knowing about it. And I think what we really need, instead of always simply looking to the security forces, I think persons really need to be looking to themselves to see how can we be a part of the solution. We've provided ample avenues for persons to make confidential and anonymous reports to the police, and we do get them from time to time, but I don't think Jamaica has grasped the severity of the situation and everyone has committed to playing their part.
Major Basil Jarrett, the Director of Communications at MOCA. Now, joining us to discuss, we have Crime Stop's chairperson, Sandra Glasgow, and this discussion is all the more important because the government has now announced this $25 million fund. Ms. Glasgow, good evening.
Good evening, Ricardo and Siobhan.
Thank you
to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let me ask. Major Jarrett said in the history of Crime Stop, you've never had a breach in terms of anybody's identity being compromised or the information that they share being compromised. And I find that extraordinary. How are you able to achieve that?
Well, you know, we have very secure systems. And, you know, we are like many Crime Stoppers across the world. We take our jobs very seriously. And, you know, a Crime Stop organization cannot survive if they do not protect the identity of their tipsters. In fact, I was watching a show on TV the other day, and in one case, the chairman of Crime Stoppers organization was asked to reveal the source of his information, and he refused. And he was held in contempt of court. I thought to myself, well, he was actually jailed because he refused to give the court information on the tipster who provided the information to nab that criminal. So we have, over our 35 years of existence, really worked very hard to protect our systems, to make sure that they are very secure and that the public will have trust in our organization in sharing information.
And it's not only the information that is secure, but the way that you go about providing the rewards, as I understand it, is also done in such a manner as to assure the rewardees that they will not be in any danger.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so interesting because, you know, we don't know who our tipsters are. We don't know, you know, the person who calls. We can hear that perhaps they're a man or a woman, but we know nothing else. We don't know where they live or anything. So, yes, we do protect our tipsters at every stage of the process. From providing the information, we cannot trace numbers on our tip line. We can't trace you if you give a web tip. And we don't know, you know, there are outlets that we, you know, allow you to collect your reward, but we don't know when you go or who you are, who goes to collect the tip.
Right.
So, yeah, that's really very important, especially in this climate. You know, I was listening earlier to your to the comments from listeners, and I think I was really heartened to hear that people, you know, are saying this informer for dead culture must die, because it is so important. You know, we live in a country with a very high crime rate. We are the ones who are seeing these things happen. We must provide the information to nab those people. We can't continue to let the criminals run amok and ruin our enjoyment of our own country.
And we want Jamaicans to contribute and to participate in this fight against crime. So let me just understand, for example, you don't know who Ricardo is, you don't know who Siobhan is. How do you ensure that I get my reward? And sometimes I see the reward is as high as sometimes $500,000. If you don't know who I am, how do you set up that mechanism to ensure that I get the reward?
You get a code.
Oh.
You get a code. So I don't want to test you anymore.
Okay, all right, fair, that's fine.
But yeah, you get a code, and the outlets that provide the rewards, I mean, we know that the tipsters are protecting that code as well, because many of them don't even want anybody to know that they are in the money.
Right.
You know, because they don't want to tip off anybody that they are the ones that provided the information. So, yeah, we've these are systems that are tried and proven across the globe. We are part of global information, so we understand what those systems need to be like. And in our context, we have had to tweak some things to make sure that people are safe.
So in other words, the systems we use here are not necessarily something that we uniquely created, but we follow international trends and best practices.
We sure do. Yeah.
Okay. And let me ask you, have you seen an increase in the number of tips you've gotten over the years? Are you getting a sense that citizens are participating more or are more willing to contribute?
Yes, we have seen that. And, frankly, our numbers fluctuate. It could almost be described as seasonal.
Okay.
Because at some times of the year, for example, like the Olympics were on and people were busy watching TV, we may not get as many tips as we might have got at another time. But we keep track of our information, the tips that we received. Last year, over 1,000 people contacted us. We sent over 1,065 pieces of information to the police. We paid out over $10 million in rewards last year. And very interestingly, because I heard the views of your listeners, only 4% of the people who contacted us last year asked for a reward.
Oh.
And this is not actually, out of the norm. We have found over the years between 4 and 6%. Maybe, I think, in 1 year it went up to 8% of the people who called us to give us information requested a reward.
So, Madam Glasgow, is it that you found that the incentive itself, in terms of the monetary incentive, has not been the driving force behind the tipping?
No, it isn't the driving force. I think what is the driving force is citizens' desire to live in a country that is devoid of crime. We never get rid of crime. But we all want to live in communities that are safe. And I think this, and I think this is borne out by the feedback you got from your listeners. Mm-hmm. People will give the information. If they have information, they will share it because they want their communities to remain safe.
Yeah. And I heard you say something a while ago. Let me see if I understood that correctly. When you said that when you get the tips, you then pass it on to the police. Am I correct then in understanding that the police is not integrally involved in your operation?
No. So we have our own staff who receive the calls, and they are specially trained to collect the information, because the quality of the information is always important. Mm-hmm. If one is going to really get to the people, you have to have good information to pass to the police. So our staff is specially trained to take those calls, and then we send the report to the particular branch of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and they take it from there.
Interesting.
I know, Ms. Glasgow, that you have special occasions where people will put forward sums for rewards, such as what the Prime Minister has done with the $25 million. But how is Crime Stop funded on its day-to-day activities in and of itself?
Thank you for asking that question. We actually, just a couple of weeks ago, had a meeting with our partners and some sponsors and some people that we want to become sponsors. So we really depend on the private sector. Crime Stop is a creature of the private sector. It was actually started in 1989 by the late Honorable Butch Stewart, who was the then president of the PSOJ. So that was in 1989. we still view the PSOJ as an important partner. They provide us with services like accounting and administration. We have our own manager that we hire, but we rely on the private sector and even the public sector to provide us with support, and we've got support from international agencies, the Canadians, European Union, USAID, and private sector companies like J. Ray and Nephew, Sterling Asset Management, National Baking Company Foundation. NCB has been our longest supporter in terms of sponsorship. But we also have Grace Kennedy on board, Proven, Scotiabank has just come on board, the Muslim Foundation. And very importantly, we have an MOU with the Ministry of National Security to provide rewards for serious crimes. And so what the Prime Minister announced will be part of that memorandum of understanding that we have with the ministry and, of course, our partnership with MOCA.
And have you been able to assess or analyze in terms of how many of those tips and leads that you receive have led to actionable results by the security forces?
Yes, we calculate every month our success rates. So, it varies, again, depending on the quality of information. But our success rate, I think our manager was telling me this afternoon, I think for the last month it was 1 in 4 calls that led to an arrest or conviction. So it varies, depending on the time of year and what's happening. But we do track the number of successes that we achieve each month.
Yeah. And, Jamaicans listening, you're a citizen of Jamaica. You've decided to get involved in this effort. I want you to talk a little bit about why it was so important for you personally to get involved. Because I think if more people start to step forward and try to dismantle the informer for dead culture, then perhaps more people will find the courage, as Major Jarrett said, to step forward as well. Why did you decide it was so important to get involved in this?
Well, I describe myself as a crime stopper in every sense of the word. I'll tell you, I was in court a few weeks ago because somebody, I don't know, I guess, don't know how they cloned my credit card, and I just saw these transactions going. Somebody had charged $40,000 to my credit card. And then I discovered that the person had transferred money into a wallet of a food delivery service that I use. And thankfully, the owner called me and said, "We're seeing this activity." And I said, "Well, let's do a sting operation." And we did. We got the police involved, and they nabbed the person who had actually cloned my card and transferred the money into his wallet. I was in court with him the other day. So, I think that, well, first of all, I probably describe myself as fearless because I really want to. I've never lived anywhere else. My children live in Jamaica. My grandchildren are here. Most members of my family are here. I have no desire to live anywhere else. So whatever I can do to make my country, rid ourselves of this scourge of crime, I certainly am committed to doing it. I've been involved with Crime Stop since 2007. I became chairman in 2016, and I am very committed to working with this organization and with other partners who are like-minded to, help to reduce crime and violence in Jamaica. This island is too blessed and too beautiful for us to allow the criminals to take over.
And that's certainly a message we hope all Jamaicans will heed and get involved. And just to remind you listeners, tips can be reported to Crime Stop at 311, the Police Emergency 119, the National Investigation Bureau tip line 811, the MOCA tip line is 888-662-2847, and the Jamaica Defense Force tip line 837-8888. And as you heard in Crime Stop's history, they've never had a breach, they've never had a compromise, nobody has been harmed, and they ensure that from you give them the tip and the point at which you receive the reward, that process is safe. Yeah? So please, tell what you know. Crime Stop, 311. The chairman of Crime Stop is Sandra Glasgow. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Have a
and
good
one. Evening to everybody.
You too. Bye-bye. All right. We're up on the break. After the break, Government Senator Apka Fitz-Henley has reacted to the comments from the Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, Ms. Jackson, expressing a concern that the Prime Minister's rhetoric may be interpreted or construed as state badness. The government senator has responded. After the break, we'll play in full his response.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Together we're our people standing strong. 3 million Jamaicans, let's work as one. Such a course and work with a plan. Proud and tall, let's make the whole world understand. Every Jamaican have the heart of a champion. Such a core, big up with champions. Watch my style, watch my skill, watch my flow. Standing out anywhere where we go. Many goals, many dreams, many strides. On the black, green and gold, and we pride. Proud and tall, let's make the whole world understand. We are strong when we are one, Sagicor, celebrating Jamaican success.
The Watchman, exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional, Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Kamala Harris's Jamaican Achilles heel. Back when I was a student at what is referred to as a historically black college and university, HBCU, in the then racially polarized American South, being a Jamaican was a distinct advantage. If you were a Nigerian and wanted the prettiest girl on campus, say you're a Jamaican. If you were Guyanese and police hold you, say you're a Jamaican. If you were from a small island and the Ku Klux Klan or some bad men threaten you, shout at the top of your voice, I am a Jamaican. Jamaicans were as much feared as they were respected. I doubt much has changed since then, except that the cool factor has been added. Bob Marley, Usain Bolt, the culture including music, dance, Rasta, Ital, weed, and the mode of dress have taken over to the point where it is sometimes hard to identify a black American if he doesn't open his mouth and start to talk. Wes Moore is an example of a Jamaican who celebrates his roots. Born to a Jamaican mother, he is the third black man to be elected governor in the United States and the first in the state of Maryland. He was highly touted as a possible running mate to Kamala Harris in her bid to be president until he removed himself from consideration. Last year, Wes Moore was guest speaker at University of the Commonwealth Caribbean graduation. He gushed with unfeigned and unrestrained pride at his Jamaican heritage. The late Colin Powell was born in New York to Jamaican parents. He rose to the rank of 4-star general in the United States Army and Joint Chief of Staff Chairman, the highest position in the United States Department of Defense. I saw him on one of his trips to Jamaica. Speaking in fluent patois, he stopped just short of declaring himself a Jamaican, which, of course, would have created a diplomatic row. It is puzzling that Kamala Harris speaks so glowingly about her long-deceased mother, Dr. Shamala Gopalan, an immigrant from India, but nary a word about her father, Professor Donald Harris, a native of Jamaica, who is still very much alive. Even if it is true that the retired and eccentric Don Harris wishes to stay out of the glare of the limelight that attends his daughter's ascendancy to the highest seats of political power, this is more than strange. Sensing that the Jamaican connection is her proverbial Achilles heel or weakness, Donald Trump, Kamala's political nemesis also vying for the presidency, threw a spanner in the works by suggesting that he always knew that she was an Indian American and only recently learned that she is a Black American. All Kamala had to do was flash one of those childhood pictures with her and her father, her Black grandmother, and cousins in Brownstown, St. Anne, and argument done. Not only that, her support among Black Americans, who are an important voting bloc, would instantly shoot up to Obama-era level. There is enough on the internet and in the public domain for everyone to know of the bitter divorce and child custody fight between Donald and Shamala when Kamala was just 6 or 7. There is probably a lot of hurt behind that pretty smile of hers. But an end has to be put to this facade. There's no such thing as a Black American and South Asian American, the term used conveniently to describe her racial identity. Either you are Black or you are not. How can an individual who is unable to repair a fracture in an important family relationship be expected to unite a divided nation? Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Kingston and St. Andrew, the Jamaica Customs Agency comes your way this Friday, August 16, 2024 from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. for Customs Meets the Community Town and Community Tour Edition. We set the tempo at Downtown Parade, raise the pitch from Papin Square to Mandela Park half a tree at 2 p.m. So join us for all things customs, imports, exports, charities and auctions, contactless clearance and our new mobile app, Customs Connect. That's Customs Meets the Community, reaching our customers where they are.
The University of the Commonwealth Caribbean Recruitment Roadshow. Fast and easy registration. Informative sessions. One-on-one guidance. Join us on August 14, Ocho Rios. August 15, May Pen. August 16, Mandeville. August 21, Negril. August 22, Montego Bay. And our last stop, August 23, Halfway Tree. 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. each stop. UCC Recruitment Roadshow. Empower your dreams. Register today. UCC. Fostering leadership and innovation.
8 minutes after 7. I don't normally comment on the Watchman's commentary. I don't know, aspects of that a while ago though were bizarre. Certainly almost outdated idea of racial identity. And parts of that are strange. Yeah, put it that way. Very strange. Anyhow, you heard in the 5 o'clock bulletin. If we could just pull that up, Dana, so we can play it from the story itself. JFJ, if we could play we could play the rap. You have that? All right. You heard in the 5 o'clock bulletin the comments of Jamaicans for Justice. Let's just play that for you again.
Gunmen killed 8 people in Cherry Tree Lane and injured 9 others. At Monday's emergency press briefing, Prime Minister Andrew Holness declared that the Cherry Tree murderers would be brought to justice by any means.
Today, I make a similar commitment, and everyone who is involved in this will be brought to justice in whichever form the justice is visited upon them.
Mr. Holness added that persons involved in Sunday's massacre would either meet with a judge or their maker. While condemning the brutality of the massacre, Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, Michael Jackson, expressed concerns at the Prime Minister's rhetoric.
Now, notwithstanding the brutality of what has happened, it's important that the Prime Minister recognizes that we look to our leaders for leadership. And with that in mind, I believe that the Prime Minister's comments have some dangerous undertones, and one must be circumspect when one speaks, because the Prime Minister's comments in 2 instances, what it can suggest and what it can possibly incite is the possibility of reprisals. And we know that's a real possibility, which is why the police had asked for a curfew to have been installed in the first instance.
The youth arm of the governing Jamaica Labour Party, Young Jamaica, has condemned what it describes as JFJ's alarmist rhetoric in response to the Prime Minister's comments. Young Jamaica has described JFJ's position as counterproductive, deeply misguided and irresponsible. But Ms. Jackson is warning against what she describes as the perception of state badness.
The other comment made by the Prime Minister could also suggest what I called state badmanism, state badness, so to speak. And we can't ignore the fact that we live in a country where we do have instances of police excesses, in some instances, questionable fatal shootings by the police.
Gianni Willie for Nationwide News.
So that's what the Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice had to say, expressing her concerns about the Prime Minister's rhetoric. Well, Government Senator Apka Fitz-Henry, Parliamentary Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, he has responded to the comments, and we thought you should hear what he had to say.
We take note of the comments by Jamaicans for Justice indicating that some umbrage is being taken to the comments by the Prime Minister that perpetrators of acts of brutality should either be taken before a judge or meet their maker. I encourage Jamaicans for Justice to be careful about the message it is sending to perpetrators of violent crime. Now is a time where the Jamaican society is looking for unity and support for strong action to be taken against criminals who are preying upon communities and terrorizing law-abiding citizens. I believe it's a no-brainer that people who are willing to pump bullets using M16 weapons into men, women, and minors. A 1-year-old was shot, an 8-year-old was gunned down. They will not hesitate to take on the security forces when in fact they are engaged. And therefore the comments by the Prime Minister was quite in order that individuals who carried out this act of savagery should either be taken before a judge or meet their maker. I'd encourage JFJ to be careful that it is developing into a rogue organization and the messages that they are conveying into the public domain, which appear supportive of criminality. I have deep respect and regard for the institution that is Jamaicans for Justice, which was founded by Carolyn Gomes, that has done good work in supporting the voice or presenting a voice for the voiceless, being advocates in cases including Agana Barrett and Michael Gale. But I'd caution the current leadership of the organization to assess the space, because the Jamaican society is not in a mood where we are prepared to send mixed messages in terms of how people who perpetrate violent crimes in communities are to be treated within the constraints of the law.
There is such a thing as time and tenor, isn't there, Ricardo?
Yeah. Yeah. 13 minutes after 7. I'm going to leave it at that. 630-937-124-618-8255. You've heard both sides, what JFJ had to say, and, it's clear that as a human rights lobby group, it has a vested interest in ensuring that responses are proportional. And I think that's what Ms. Jackson was seeking to convey. But I think there is something to be said about the timing of the comments and certainly what the society is feeling now. Yeah? But then I'm also mindful that people say advocacy is difficult. And it's when people's emotions are perhaps most elevated, yeah, that you have to make those kinds of interventions. But then you heard from Apka Fitzenli. You can make up your mind, yeah? 630-937-124, 618-8255. Carl, good evening.
Evening, Ricardo. Evening. You know, expect no better from Miss Jackson. No better. I wonder if Miss Jackson could have gone down in a Clarendon and say what she said this evening or whichever day. And whichever one of those parents, it would have comfort. That lady will lose her husband. I wonder if Jackson would have got there and comfort that lady. What Jackson need to do is the person who left her in her portfolio. Jackson needs to give her a call and ask him what went on into Grenada.
No, different. No. Jamaicans for Justice is a completely different organization.
That's what. Well, that put him out. That put she there.
No. I don't know of anybody who was in the leadership of Jamaicans for Justice being involved in anything in Grenada. No.
Who put Jackson at the head now? Trevor Monroe?
No.
You know,
Trevor Monroe is... I'm saying you're confusing two organizations.
Okay.
Jamaicans for Justice is different from the National Integrity Action, and Daniel Archer and Michael Jackson are not the same people.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, okay.
Anyhow, you know, expect she if you have anything better to say, because all of these human rights, we call themselves human rights. The only time they jump up, if somebody fire after police and the police kill them, they have something to say the police is wrong. Them always on the wrong side. That's why we did give them a different name, human wrongs. And then support the wrongs. Support the wrong
but was
side
she
of defense.
Was she supporting the wrong though? Because she did condemn the massacre. She did say it was a terrible thing that had happened. Mm-hmm.
She just put that in front because what she was coming with, Ricardo, she have to put that like say she's sorry for whatever happened, Ricardo.
But why would you doubt that she's sorry?
Ricardo, I am around long enough.
No, but hold on. Because I think, Carl, there's a way we can criticize the thinking and the thought process without seeking to suggest that she somehow lacks empathy for people who are suffering or victims of crime. And I want us to not miss that nuance, because there is a nuance there. I don't think Michael is without empathy and sensitivity. I wouldn't assume that or suggest
Ricardo.
That. Yes.
You ever hear sometimes some people do some things, even in a parliament, and people have to beg them to apologize. They don't really apologize, no, Ricardo.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the pressure will come, they just say, I'm sorry about this, and then find all kind of big words to use.
Okay.
Right, whether that with she know. She just said that in front, but it's not that's what it means. Ricardo,
mm-hmm.
If you listen around how that lady deal with matters, a lot of time, you know where them are swinging. A lot of them want to see this government go down. A lot of them is waiting on them board to go on. A lot of them, but they won't see it. They won't see that.
Why do you think it's a political issue? No, I hear you, and I'm asking you. We're having a conversation.
Ricardo, we're there for a long time enough now,
okay.
Ricardo.
Okay.
We're there long enough now, and we know these people. A lot of them are swinging to see if they can get on a board.
Yeah.
But it won't happen. We don't have to go wait for our next 5-year term. It won't happen. We don't have to go wait for our next 5-year term. Because when you know, look, Jackson, you don't not even have nobody when you were 17 or 19 and how much out of your own head. You don't have nobody for finance, nothing. You don't have a leader, Jackson. So maybe you need to step up to the leader, Jackson.
And to be clear, I don't know that Miss Jackson is of any particular political persuasion. Just to be clear.
Ricardo.
No, just to be clear. You're suggesting
Ricardo.
something. No, hold on. No. You are suggesting something that we have no evidence here, and I'm just making that clear, Carl.
Yeah, Ricardo,
Okay.
let me tell you something. Let me tell you something where you don't know. We move around Jamaica, and we see these people are at political meetings. We see them. We know them.
All right.
We see them at political meetings. A lot of time.
You have seen Miss Jackson at a political meeting.
Me say, we see them.
Who is the them? Who is the them?
They know only for them are human rights.
All right, Carl.
So we use the word, we see them. We know them.
All right.
Them are bad for them party. And as me said today, who no own a house in a Clarendon after certain time, them decoration say they doesn't own a house in a Jamaica. So
all right,
you know,
Carl.
we see them in a Clarendon. No, they have no business in a Clarendon. So they're not supposed to come in a Clarendon. Keep out of Clarendon until the 14 days are expired. And one thing may I beg my Prime Minister again, as the 14 days expire, ask for 90 days. And ask the opposition to support it.
All right.
Then we will know if they flip-flop. What he said Monday that we are going after, they flip-flop.
He did also say that he wanted measures that he thought were constitutional. So I think that ruled out, because he already clearly said he doesn't believe the routine use of the SOEs are constitutional.
Constitution worked on a chain line Sunday night.
All right, Carl.
Well, I mean, ask you a question. You can't run like that. Constitution worked on a chain line Sunday night.
What do you mean if it worked? What does that mean?
If Constitution, out of it bend with rights, and those 8 people was alive.
No, remember, I agree with you that the states of emergency should be used. I just want you to be clear on what Mr. Golding actually said.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So we are agreed on the use of the SOE. I'm just being clear on what Mr. Golding said.
I only want to see 14 days come.
Yes.
And when the government asks for 90 days, I will ask my minister, Pernell Charles, to invite me to the parliament.
All right, my brother.
Someone put in the group, the law is reason free from passion, Aristotle. I wonder if sometimes people remember what kind of society Aristotle lived in. When you had things such as helots, who were essentially slaves with no rights, subordinate to the Spartans of their societies, or just a society that felt that there were some people who were born slaves and had no business aspiring to anything more. When we use some of these quotes, we should understand the concepts and context from which they sprang forth. So don't just quote Aristotle saying the law is reason free from passion, believing that Aristotle was not in some ways biased or somehow profound in his thinking. He had his own reasonings that I think many people today would find objectionable.
Yeah.
And Martin, good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Good evening.
Go ahead, Martin.
Good evening, gentlemen. All right. I start by reminding Carl that if any human rights activists they attend any political meeting, it is their right to do so. So that is of no moment. I also want to congratulate the Executive Director, Michael Jackson, on her tone on her release. I disagree with the comment, but her tone wasn't arrogant. She tends to speak in an arrogant tone, and I appreciate the tone for this one. No, she said that the Prime Minister must be careful in his utterance, especially on this topic. because they're a violent society. And I agree, we are a violent society.
Yes.
But when we have gunmen going around, this thing is escalating by the day, it seems. We used to kill 1, we moved to 2, then 3, 4, now we are at 8. 8 died, were murdered, 9 were injured. The Prime Minister, as the head of the country, must come out and speak in a forceful manner, in an aggressive manner. And there's only 2 ways about it at the end of the day.
Yes.
Because if you attack the police force, as gunmen have done in the past and will do, the police force must be equipped to defend themselves.
Yes.
I, for one, will always state my bias. I am married to a member of the JCF.
Mm-hmm.
JCF is in my bedroom every night.
Mm-hmm.
And if she is on that battlefield and she's attacked, she should win. She must win.
Yes.
So I will state my bias. So when the Prime Minister says, meet the judge or meet Jamaica, we can't come out and pretend that there's anything else. What else are you going to do? The sunshine and roses? Come on, man, these are terrorists. We are being terrorized.
I can't imagine there's any middle ground between either you surrender yourself peacefully to the police, in which you will be brought before a court and they will decide your fate, or
with the rule of law.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't know if there's a middle ground between that and then facing the police in a gun battle. I can't imagine there's a middle ground there.
When I hear people like Jeff Jace, human rights activists, saying that the right to liberty is the greatest right. If I don't have life, how can I move around?
And we had that discussion in the newsroom earlier today, Ricardo, regarding from where do rights spring? Yes. I know there are many people who say that rights are God-given, rights are inalienable, but when you really put it, rights are not intrinsic.
They have to be secured here
exactly.
on earth. Yes.
Someone has to be the arbiter and enforcer of your rights, and your rights cannot be enforced in a society that is lawless.
That's true.
And I think many people need to understand that. If there is not someone present to ensure that you have that right to liberty, you will not be able to maintain that right to liberty.
And exercise it.
So we should not be in a situation where we have those rights undermined by lawless elements in our society and then call on those who are the actual protector of those rights to do nothing.
Mm-hmm. There's a comment here. I see a comment here on YouTube. Somebody saying they disagree. Forceful and aggressive never worked before. He, and I suppose he means the Prime Minister, must be resolute and intelligent in his approach. Even if he sounds off for the public, his policies must be reasoned and effective. Here's how I see it. You cannot expect in a society where 8 people have been murdered, where the society that the Prime Minister leads, any Prime Minister, forget that is Andrew Holness. Let's say it was Prime Minister Mark Golding. And that Prime Minister did not come out
and condemn it.
Forcefully condemn what has happened and say, because this is the essence of what he was saying, that justice will be done one way or another, and to say to you, the perpetrator, you have a choice. You may surrender to the rule of law, or you may challenge the rule of law. But note, when you challenge the rule of law, the outcome will not be favorable to you. I cannot think that that is an unreasonable thing to expect the leader of a country that is in mourning, that has been shell-shocked, that has been horrified by the murder of children and women, to say, I cannot condemn that. I cannot condemn that. And I could not condemn that if that were Prime Minister Mark Golding, and I will not condemn it that it is Prime Minister
Let's do an
Andrew
extension to that, Ricardo. What would they think of the Prime Minister if he was unable to defend those 8 Jamaicans from a brutal murder and then turn around and do nothing to seek justice for those lives lost? Yeah. Wouldn't they call him weak?
They would.
Wouldn't they attack him to suggest that, he's not doing enough to fight crime? He has to do what is necessary to protect the state of Jamaica and its inhabitants.
Martin?
Gentlemen,
yes.
JFJ has condemned the utterance because, in my view, it came from a politician. It came from a If it came from the GG, I don't think anybody would have condemned the move. And too much time in this country, I have seen and I have heard politicians, I don't care which side you come from, politicians come out and say the thing that is correct, but because it is from a politician's mouth, it is condemned, and we must stop it.
I have a message here that says, and what happens when the state itself is lawless? The Prime Minister can forcefully condemn without endorsing extrajudicial murder. And let me just state categorically that I reject this characterization of what the Prime Minister said. Because the first part of what he said was a clear homage to the rule of law.
Exactly.
He said, surrender to a judge. So that characterization is ridiculous. No.
And this is the same society who glorified and celebrate the release of a certain entertainer.
Well, I mean, we have to be careful on that one because a court of law has acquitted that certain entertainer.
And then wouldn't we all wish for all criminals to go before before a court of law?
And have their day in court, right? According to the rule of law. You know, so...
But I those who find a problem with the Prime Minister's statement as being either extreme or was a term salacious, what is the middle ground between meeting a judge or your maker? What is the middle ground when you're a person who is absconded by the police and you have decided that you have certain options open to you? What are those options?
I also think fundamentally it ignores the reality on the ground. That a lot of these hoodlums, they do not surrender peacefully. They challenge the authority of the state.
And I would love if they would surrender peacefully and face the court. That is perfectly within their ability to do. If they choose not to do so, explain to me what the middle ground is.
Yeah.
We need to get away from condemning the Prime Minister or any politician making statements. And if it is that JFJ or any other group have another solution to the matter, come forward and say. We need to stop talk platitudes now and come put solutions on the table, because like it or not, the government would say, okay, this is the route I'm taking. So when we come out and criticize the government, give me your suggestion, show me another route.
Yeah.
I see a comment here, medieval days of PM gone back to.
Thanks, Martin.
All right,
on what basis would one make that argument that we're going back to medieval days?
I don't know. And again, I think the timing is also there's a tinge of insensitivity there, because people are still mourning.
They're stinging.
And the society is still reeling from what has happened. I don't know. And look, an elected representative has to channel. As a leader of the country, you have to channel and take on the pain that the people you lead are feeling. That's also part of the job, you know. 630-937-124-618-8255. We're taking your calls here on Nationwide at 5. Omala, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Ricardo. Good evening, Chevron.
Evening, sir.
I don't have a problem with what the Prime Minister said. I love Michelle. I love her. But I think her response is not psychological. She's not thinking in a way to test the temperature of things when they're putting out these things. I think if she came and said that give our condolence and condemn what goes on, and then urge the police to bring the people in, make the priority bringing the people in, and emphasize on the work the police. Don't just address the Prime Minister because it's an emotional situation and he's responding to this. Just address the issue at hand.
That's what you mean. So in other words, encourage people to cooperate with law enforcement.
Yeah, and encourage and and do these things more than it seems like I am going after you. It just doesn't. You have to be psychological in what you're doing.
No, that's what you mean. Yeah, I can appreciate that. Yeah.
The next thing is, how can we fight crime in Jamaica if we can't fight corruption and extortion?
Yeah, fair question. Fair question.
How do we fight crime if we can't fight these things? When somebody is going, we put up all the security things at the wall, and somebody say, look the other way, a $5 million over here, and you look the other way, you go out with 20 bucks a bullet, and you make 10 million, and you put out 5 million. How do we deal with these things?
Mm-hmm.
You know one thing, because it's an endless supply of bullets, It's an endless supply of bullets. I think even these gun stores, need to be audited, I think the police, bullet department, everything in Jamaica, when it comes on to bullets and all those who are gun dealers and all of these people are supposed to be audited to the fullest. Because the endless of bullets. It's so then the government is telling us that they have ships and all different type of things to protect the waterway and protect the water. And we hear about these things as safety, and we have to put with trust in the government. And as soon as we start putting with trust in the government, the endless supply of bullets just keep on coming in, and there is no stop to it. Well, the government also have to think in a different way. The government has to find a way how to defy their bullets from all other bullets in Jamaica. Either them order some bullets when they know when the person them is manufacturing them put some red distinction within the cap of the bullet. That means when the police go and pick up the spent shell them can't see if it come from the JCF because maybe the JCF has sell bullets, or it come from over camp because over camp has sell bullets. But everybody bullet can't just mix up and you just pick up some cap and you don't know where them.
But then remember, Omalo, that's part of the reason why we've gotten the maritime defenses, because the borders are porous. And a lot of these arms, we don't make them here.
Obviously.
We don't make them here. They come from up north, and they come from parts of Central America. So that's part of the problem. Yeah?
So do we need to audit the maritime to find out what is going on? Because if something ain't working.
We have very porous borders.
Yeah,
I
mean, and I think as an established, everybody knows that.
There are many points of entry that the police are probably not even aware of.
We just accept bullets just coming in. What do we do?
No, I don't think it's accepted. I think what is accepted is that it's incredibly difficult with our capacity as a small island state to patrol the borders adequately.
I don't think we have too much excuse in this country, I think we need more thinkers and less excuse.
You realize that if you include Jamaica's waters, as in our border
territorial waters,
it would increase the size of the country by 3 times.
Yeah, I think we really we can have quite a bit of what you call it, maritime boat. And we can have a bit of drones that we send out on the boat. Them we'll sit up in the sky for 8 hours. Them sit down in the water, detect all different.
And how much of the Jamaica's borders could that monitor at any given time, though, Omalo? Be realistic. How much of Jamaica's borders could that monitor at any given time?
What do you mean how much? America send spy plane all over the place, because spy on people and them something. What are you talking about, bro?
But you're comparing apples and oranges, Omalo, in terms America's defense budget. America's defense budget is one of the, if not the greatest,
it is the largest in the world per capita.
Yes. Yes. We don't have that kind of money.
The Prime Minister keeps telling us that we have money to deal with our situation.
Omalo, my brother, our national security spending has increased dramatically. It has.
The highest it's been in recorded history.
Money is not our problem.
No.
It's our thinking, it's our thoughts, it's our idea.
Okay.
It's the excuses that we find.
All right, Omalo.
It's not our problem.
Have to
our
run.
Our problem is the excuses, the way we think, and the way we defend what, find excuses for what is wrong.
All right, have to run, my brother.
No problem.
Other people holding. Thanks for the call as usual, my brother. 630-937124, 618-8255. Who's next?
Owen, good evening.
Hi, Owen.
Good evening. I want to ask you to bear with me a little, because I'm, weak here. You might hear the background. But anyhow, I'm so disappointed with the Jamaica for Justice. It's better they did not say anything, because I am not a fan of Mr. Holness,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I just totally agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It has, my grandmother would have said, past participle bad. Yeah? It gone far too far now.
Mm.
But we as Jamaicans, we need to have knowledge and a little bit of everything in order to inform our arguments. If we're going to put an idea forward and how we criticize things. Because isn't JFJ a NGO?
Yes.
All right. And who is funding JFJ? That's what it's something that they have been mandated to do, you know. Yeah, this that they're doing. If they don't do this, they will not get the funding.
I want you to be careful there. They've been mandated to do what? Mandated to do what?
The way that they speak.
Well,
because it's not only in Jamaica that it's happening.
Okay, you mean messaging? Okay, messaging. All right, fine. Mm-hmm.
Okay, the very same thing. What I'd call it, for want of a better terminology, it's the liberal position.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
And I know you understand world politics.
Yes,
because
yes. The liberal worldview, a liberal view of human rights. Yes.
Yeah. I hope they have registered as foreign agents. Because we know where they are being funded by. You understand?
I don't think that makes them a foreign agent, my brother.
Pardon me?
I don't think that makes them foreign agents. Remember, hold on. I understand that we're upset at the comments, but I just want us to not lose nuance. Yeah? These are Jamaicans. These are Jamaicans. The members of Jamaicans for Justice are our fellow citizens. Yeah?
What? Listen, I understand your position.
No, that's a fact. These are my positions. It's a fact. These are Jamaicans. The members of Jamaicans for Justice are Jamaican citizens.
It is not Jamaicans that is funding Jamaicans.
No, but they don't. Wait, hold on. But no, they don't only get funding from overseas. They don't only get funding from overseas. So remember that as well. Yeah, remember that as well.
Well, as I said to you, as I've mentioned. But anyhow,
yeah.
The Jamaican populace, they are cowering in fear because honestly. There's a generation of police also.
Yes.
Police officers that has the law-abiding Jamaicans living in fear also because of the way that they deal with them. So Jamaica people have virtually found themselves between a rock and a hard place. Because you see this inform of a dead culture, that's something for dead, you know. The parliament passed laws to defend members of parliament and their positions. They must pass laws to defend the death of inform of a dead culture. Laws must pass to kill that thing. That beast need to die now.
But that's why we have things such as the whistleblowers legislation and other things that allow channels.
My brother, listen to me. Legislation need to be passed that anyone that even what I'd say now, I'd say just suggest that inform of the dead.
Yes.
You see all them inform of the dead tune, all of them for dead right now.
All right, my brother.
Inciting violence against the nation, because if somebody sing a song inciting violence against the parliament, like they would say, kill somebody, a member of the state. I know they're coming for them. Me certain. So when even songs are suggesting drive-by and them things, the people must come for them. I'm telling you, because a lot of us is as if we don't recognize and realize the influence that is driving these things. Even these these persons that they're looking for, I'm gonna ask them. You see, if them hold on to them and them hold them with a phone, just take out them phone and listen to the song them with them. Just listen to it. All of them, every one of them listen to one set of songs because these people encourage themselves to be evil.
All right.
I'm telling you.
Whole heap of people holding, my brother. Have to run. Busy night. Thanks for the input. Appreciate
I love
it.
the program this evening.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Verley Green says, correction, Ricardo, the court did not acquit this man. I suppose you mean Adidja Palmer. He was released because of misstep, which is different. I'm just going to read for you very exactly what the Court of Appeal said, because I've seen that comment before and it's not true. The Court of Appeal president said, quote, having weighed all the relevant considerations in the balance, the court concludes that the interests of justice do not require that a new trial be ordered for the appellants. The court therefore orders that judgments and verdicts of acquittal are entered in relation to the appellant. So yes, Verley, they were acquitted. Who is next? Alric, good evening.
Good evening, Ricardo. Good evening, Shaban. Ricardo.
Yes,
we hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. There's a time and a place to say everything.
Yes.
As I said, time and tenor.
8 people got killed.
Mm-hmm.
My God, man, 2-year-old, including
shot.
Lady, a lady lost her husband and her daughter and another relative. That's one family.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jackson shows no empathy, nothing to these 8 people and to this community. If she's going to come out and troll what the Prime Minister said, what could Mr. Holness have done? Shut up. He's the Prime Minister. He had to talk and he had to vent what 99% of us in Jamaica were feeling for what happened. It better she never said anything at all. Just keep her mouth closed. It would have been a lot better, because what she has done now, has she gone down there? Has she gone to hug up these people to show sympathy for them before she come out? And if the Prime Minister never say anything, another set of other people that come out and crucify him? Sometimes it's better, say nothing in situations like these more than come. Because the Prime Minister gave them a choice, guys. Come in and face the court of law. But if you don't come in and you meet up on the security forces, if the security forces don't take them out, what the better than just plung them gun and find them and make them shoot them up then? It can't work like that, man. You can't eat your cake and have it. And Miss Jackson should have kept her mouth shut instead of come say that and try to troll the Prime Minister. I'm so upset with her this afternoon because she wasn't a favorite of mine long time. It just make it worse now.
I don't think she was trolling him though.
No, I don't understand the mindset of people who are bashing the Prime Minister, who had to go down to Clarendon and deal with grieving relatives. There's that picture of the woman crying in his arms. What is the Prime Minister supposed to do to say to that woman? Nothing. Just,
there's a way in which
the people who killed your relatives, they had the human rights.
Yeah,
we have to
a leader has to channel grief. It's part of being the leader of a country. In any country where there's an unspeakable tragedy, that's what happens. The leader has to channel how the people feel.
Exactly where we're at. Look at when you have these mass shootings in the US.
Yes.
Whether it is schools, look how the governor and the president and everybody come out.
It's a part of the job. It's a part of the job.
It's part of the job to show that sort of empathy for the people. And I know 1 or 2 dead, Ricardo and Savannah. He dead one time in a one little community and rest their hospital shoot up.
Yeah.
Miss Jackson, if take herself in times like these and not say nothing.
And as I say, heavy is the head that bears the crown. It must weigh heavily on people such as the Minister of National Security and the Prime Minister. They get the reports and the intelligence documents daily about these types of murders and killings. It cannot do well for your mental health to have to deal with that on a daily basis and then be told that you cannot commiserate with Jamaicans who are suffering.
Guys.
What broke my heart.
Hold on, stick up in, guys, before I go. You saw the headline in the paper, one of the papers today. The people at the hospital are traumatized who work at the hospital.
Yes.
Miss Jackson, see that? The doctor, the senior medical officer down there, because everybody who works there traumatized because of the amount of people who come in get shot. Miss Jackson, see that? Miss Jackson, read that? Miss Jackson in her Eiffel Tower sit down and comment on the Prime Minister because the man said the right thing. I hope the Prime Minister said the right thing and I back him 100%. Either you come in and make justice deal with you or you go find your maker, man. Good evening, guys.
All right. And Siobhan, what broke my heart, you saw the pictures. And there's a particular picture that has stayed with me of the child, and I'm going to describe it because it's sort of seared in my mind. And he was sort of curled up alongside a vehicle. And when I heard Robian's reporting of the residents saying that a lot of the victims tried to either shield themselves or run, I keep wondering to myself whether that little boy, 8 years old, was trying to get underneath the vehicle based on where he fell. That has stayed with me. And of all the things I saw of that incident, I'm devastated by that, because it seemed to me that he was trying to find shelter.
And I understand that sometimes in media we have a almost detached way of dealing with things. I mean, you have to develop a thick skin in this business, but I'm oftentimes reminded that it hurts to see some of the things that come across a news desk, and it boils my blood. And say, what is Jamaica doing about it? And then I have to put myself in the position of the Prime Minister, the members of Parliament, and say they have to deal with these things on a much more personal level than I do. I have the luxury to be detached from it. They have their constituents. They have the people of Jamaica demanding answers, and then they have to counterbalance those demands with people from JFJ and other human rights organizations saying that no, you have to have a more delicate approach, a more measured approach when dealing with this.
And the thing is, and then to recognize that part of the job requires you almost to be all things to all people, because you must be security head in chief, comforter in chief, and as I said, channel all that is happening and then find the solutions at the same time. That's difficult.
I was one of the early people who said that states of emergency cannot continue in perpetuity. I believe it was Tyrone Reed who asked me a very poignant question that changed my mind. Okay, what do they do? And then I said, I realized I can't answer that question. And then I said, if I can't answer that question, how do I tell somebody who has to sleep under their bed in the nights because bullets are flying above them what they should do in those circumstances? I can't find the answer to them. And if the state of emergency provides them with a level of comfort that they at least can sleep in their bed, why should I stand in the way of it?
Because you as a liberal elite think you know better. 630-937-124-618-8255 Cleveland.
Yes, Mr. Ricardo and Siobhan, good evening.
Evening, Cleveland.
You know, Ricardo, as I hear you talk about the little boy curled up by the car, we here in Jamaica, when we hear what happened to Gaza, like how that gentleman went to register his babies,
children, yes,
and the place boom up, and we take it on, and yet we in Jamaica not taking on what happened right here. That's what I mean? No, when I hear Miss Jackson give a statement first to say, send our sympathy to the people in there, the family and so on. I clap me on, you know.
Yes.
And my God, it never cooled down much to hear her now taking on the Prime Minister. I mean, she don't have no feelings to what happened to the people them down there. She don't understand.
I mean, I'm at pains to keep reminding us that she did condemn the incident.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but she it never worked out in our favor in a sense, but based on that she's going to take on the Prime Minister. The
You
Prime
think she
Minister
should have just condemned it and then left it at that?
Leave it alone. Leave it alone. The Prime Minister got there in the heart of what was happening. When he do stay in Jamaica House and don't go by the people, them got feel some of the pain they are feeling there.
The Prime Minister doesn't have the luxury to govern from a distance.
Oh, come on. And you know something? How much are you hear? How much of these people from the PMP here say anything about it? How much? How much people send their sympathy from the PMP party away from somebody, I think?
No, I think there was a statement on behalf of the party.
But it takes more than that, Ricardo. It takes more than just a statement. Because then the leader, Mr. Golin, same agree with the Prime Minister that something have to be done. And as the Prime Minister mentioned about the state of emergency, then say they're not supporting. You see?
Wait,
What
have
you
they
expect the
said
gunman
that?
them
Have
to
they
do
said
out
they,
here?
have they
Eh?
said they won't support an extension of this state of emergency?
Yes, they give the feeling said they wouldn't be supporting it.
Oh,
I think I hear a news.
Oh, I
that
didn't hear
say
that. Oh, okay.
If it don't go so, I'll apologize for that.
Yeah, I don't think we've carried that.
You see?
I haven't heard that.
But then now, I see them out in Montego Bay at a meeting. They're coating at them colors.
Yes.
You mean to tell me, sir, they don't have no feelings to what happened to the people that they couldn't do without dressing in their colors, and then no one at the platform talk anything about what happened down there? Come on. That is why the crime, the gun shooting will not stop, because the people who doing out there, sum up the two sides, who is for what and who is not for what.
But I will say this though, Cleveland, the kind of change and the speed at which we want it in Jamaica, and we cite countries such as El Salvador, Singapore, I ask every Jamaican if they are willing to make the kind of sacrifices and suffer the kind of invasiveness that those cultures have to bring about that change. And I think that is
people will not do that.
I think that is a question every Jamaican needs to ask themselves.
And when these things happen, and the Prime Minister don't do anything, they criticize him because they want him to go there, solve the problem, find the man them who do the shooting, bring them to the court, and he must be the witness and everything to get them.
I mean, because we can transform Jamaica's criminal society in a matter of years, as El Salvador did. It just means every person who look funny at the police or the police suspect of something has to be put in a prison, held there without any concern for their rights or liberties. And I ask Jamaicans, are they willing to make that sacrifice? Because it is easy to stay up at Cherry Gardens or wherever behind a security gate where you get a key that press a button and you can get into your building and close it behind you and forget that the rest of the world exists. It is easy to criticize from that position. It is not so easy to criticize from the position where when you know, say, the man who sleep in the house beside you have a pistol or whatever under him bed and he report to the Don up the street. It is not so easy for that person to make such a decision.
And for those who are trying to distort what the Prime Minister says and what him don't say, there are some of these people who is helping to make the crime continuing in this country. They don't want to see the crime stop because they won't have nothing to go up on platform and talk and preach.
All right, want to squeeze in one more caller, Cleveland.
All right.
Thanks for the call. And Tony is reminding me, Siobhan, that several members of the PNP have spoken to the issue. The Member of Parliament was in the area, the councillor was there, and Tony says the councillor was at the hospital as the doctors came out to tell family members that their loved ones had died. So members of the PNP were present, and of course the party did issue a statement. Who do we have? Dosha, good evening.
Yes,
you have 2 minutes.
Good evening. All right. And I'm going to make it fast. So I have no qualms about what the Prime Minister said. There come a time when you have to put measures in place that people ain't going to like. And if people like the measures they put in place, it means to say you're losing. Number two, I'm asking, do you have any idea spend on crime solving in Jamaica? Do you have any idea? That is something we need to know. Because in my opinion, for many years, it only takes, if you apply the right mechanism, it only takes 150 hours to solve an identified crime. So once you identify a crime, it takes you only 150 hours in order to find the perpetrator. Right? The fact is that we are not looking in the right direction. And in my opinion, I do not think the persons who are advising or the advisors of crime are doing justice to Jamaica. I hope that will take. But it is possible. Crime can solve. And crime cannot solve in the way they are doing it. But you do not discuss the mechanism and the antidote in public. This afternoon, I was very upset coming when you were speaking to the lady from the reward.
Stop.
And I was really upset because people like those should never come and give interview in regards to their operation. But anyhow, it happened and gone. But I'm saying to you, I stand here, thou shalt stand here to tell you in 150 hours, identifiable crimes can be solved in Jamaica. And people who have died and rotten, and you will identify their body or their remains, it only takes 150 hours to identify how it happened and who created. The fact is, who is willing to do it?
All
and
right,
that
my
is
brother.
the problem we're having.
Out of time. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. That's a marathon. Felt like a marathon. That's all the time we have this evening. Thank you to Dana Davey, Andrew Glenn Anderson, Cara Powell, and our colleagues in the newsroom, best in the business. Thank you all so much. Thanks to our contributors or sponsors and you, our valued listeners, whether you listen on YouTube, on radio, or on the app or website. We appreciate you staying with us over these last 3 hours. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good evening.